Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Joe Martin Show. Today I'm here with Ray Perez. So can you introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Ray Perez.
Can you give introduction to what you do?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, my name's Ray Perez. I'm a local musician. I'm an actor, a writer. I do a little bit of comedy, but mostly what I do is I host open mics. I've been hosting the open mic at the Gremlin for the last 3 years. Previously to that, I hosted at Yerberia Cultura. And before that, I was hosting at various locations throughout the McAllen Mission area, wherever I could find a spot.
How did you actually land that gig with the Gremlin? Because you said 3 years, that's the same amount of time with the pandemic and all stuff. How was that those changes going on?
So I actually am a close friend with the owner, Antonio Reina. We've known each other since we were teenagers. And so I saw him develop that property since it was Space 16th, before it was an art gallery.
Oh, okay.
So it was a 100-year-old house that he converted into an art gallery. And it was that for a while. And then he partnered up with Alyssa Cantu chef. And they opened the Gremlin as a restaurant and bar and venue. So I always, knew about it, and I tried to do an open mic before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then it kind of cut us off. So I count those.
Okay. Yeah.
I count those years that it was off. But I guess since the pandemic, I want to say maybe 2021, November 2021, maybe, till now, that we've been going at it, like post-pandemic.
Yeah.
We started off with the masks and all that stuff, and then unfortunately, excuse me, now it seems like it's pretty much gone away.
Oh yeah, it seems that way. And
Yeah.
it's crazy just thinking that it's already been 3 years since the pandemic first started.
Yeah.
It's scary how
It
time
is
goes
crazy.
fast.
It is crazy. I was seeing actually the Facebook memories 2 years ago. We had that freeze too, that
Oh yeah.
post-apocalyptic freeze that we had down here. So, yeah, that was crazy.
That was a crazy time because at that time I was working at Home Depot, and for the love of God, I hated TikTok at that moment because there was this thing where supposedly you got a candle on, you put in a ceramic pot that somehow it would heat up your home.
Oh,
It was a lie, but people still kept buying the ceramic pots. I'm like, it doesn't work. The smart people obviously bought the lumber to make wood fires and all stuff, but everybody was buying ceramic pots. I'm like, it's not gonna work, and
Oh, that's
it
funny.
went crazy.
That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, what was going on through your life? When the pandemic was going on, how did you handle it? Out of curiosity.
Well, I am an administrator at a primary home care agency, so we take care of elderly and disabled children, through provider services. We send somebody to their house. So we actually weren't able to stop. So it was considered essential work.
essential work.
So we continued working. So it really, it didn't affect me as much as it affected people that had to shift their life completely, where they had to stay home all of a sudden, or they couldn't work anymore, or they lost their jobs. It didn't affect me that way because I still had to go to work every day. There were a lot of precautions we had to take, extra precautions, masks, gloves,
The distancing. Stuff.
PPE, the protective equipment, and all that. But as far as, I think I was less affected by it than the people that had to shift their whole life. Of course, it still affected me, and it was an awakening moment because you kind of growing up and being into rock music or punk rock music or rap or any kind of thing that had this rebellious spirit. You always kind of thought there was a possibility that society would collapse and you'd have this post-apocalyptic revolution and rebellion.
No.
Yeah, and no, that didn't happen. But it was scary because you didn't really think oh crap, this is possible. Something terrible is happening.
Especially worldwide.
Millions of people are dying. It was definitely life changing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people the pandemic changed their lives, and I think on the positive side is that people started picking a lot of the younger bands. They started picking up music during this time because they weren't going to school. So hey, why not get into certain hobbies? And I think that's why lately there's with the open mics. I mean, you see that there's a bunch of young bands.
Oh yeah.
In the DIY scene, it's been crazy.
Yeah, I love it, man. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to see that, especially having hosted open mics for so many years. I'm able to see all the different generations and all the cycles that come through.
How has that been?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. And like you said, lately, I think post-pandemic is the most that I've seen it flourish with all these young new bands coming out, and I love it.
Yeah.
Because it gives me hope for the future. You know what I mean? Because that was me 30 years ago. You know what I mean? Hoping and wanting and, rocking, And so I'm glad to see that it's still alive. The spirit of music is still alive,
What has been like the different like change, like I guess like the noticeable changes you've seen throughout like the different generations that you've been hosting an open mic? Like, what has been like the giant changes?
I think as it's like an organism. It's like a living organism. So I think most of the changes that I see is just the coming and going of new faces. The story is still the same. It's youth. It's angst, rebellion.
Yeah.
It's the spirit of wanting to create and not being jaded by
Life, basically.
like
Yeah.
grown up shit that you never want to fucking think about. We just wanted to be fucking rock stars and just be free. And then you get old, you get a family, and you have to work and
Yeah,
do all
the
this crap. Yeah,
responsibilities, yeah.
and the dream kind of dies down a little bit. It never dies, but it just dulls a little bit.
Yeah.
And so this is a spark that keeps me going, but I get to see it. So it's not so much that I see changes, it's just that I see it constantly evolving like a living organism. So it's like new faces, new people, new bands,
Yeah.
new music. I mean, but it's all genres, so I love it, man. It's just a beautiful thing. It's like a living thing.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
What kind of advice would you give people like who are going to, like, you've seen so many faces come and go, come and go? How would you like tell people like the use, like how to like, I wouldn't say like temper down or like settle down, but like how would you like, I guess, temper their expectations? Like, hey, do this, go crazy and have fun. I mean, you're young, but like also realize like, hey, sometimes things don't really work out. I mean, I think people should also face the reality, like balance reality and their dreams.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's true. It is true, but I don't think I would ever want to put out advice like that personally.
Yeah.
Because I think I came from a generation where that's what everybody was telling us. Like, oh, it's just a pipe dream. Yeah, you can't live off of that. You can't live off of music. No, my advice is try it. Try your hardest. If that's your dream, and if you work hard at it, you can do whatever you want. And it doesn't have to be the path that's already constructed or written. And that's the one thing that I have learned in my 30 years of playing music and being in all these scenes is that just because one band did it a certain way doesn't mean that's the path that you have to take.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean just because Nirvana or whoever, they all jumped in a van and started touring to get, just because they did it that way doesn't mean you have to do it. Especially the 30-year gap of technology,
Oh yeah.
where which now you don't even have to leave your home to write an album, produce it, and release it. The internet is a wonderful tool, and I think that my advice is take advantage of that tool and use it to your benefit, and just whatever you want to do, you can do it.
Yeah.
But if you have to create your own path, that's what you do. You know?
I believe that 100% because like I've seen that like lately where there's certain bands in the valley who they never perform, but like they're on TikTok, on SoundCloud, even like there's this one guy who's on Reddit and he says that he gets a bunch of hits on his music. They're like, there's all these different avenues now that are open.
Yeah.
And it's crazy like how you can just be successful without even, like how you said, you can be successful without even stepping outside your door.
Yeah, you can, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong because my advice would be and it's not from me. This is something I learned. There's no one right way to live. There's no one right way. Like I think the biggest mistake that all of us make is we think we have to subscribe to a certain philosophy or religion or practice of music or genre.
Yeah.
We think like that there's a formula for success, and there's not. Everything is made up, and everything is made up. So you have that power to make it up yourself. So you don't have to subscribe to one story. There isn't just one right way to do something. You figure out a way that works for you, whatever works best, and you do that without harming anybody else. You know.
Oh yeah. How did you figure that one out?
From a book
Book.
called Ishmael by Daniel Quinn. I highly recommend it. It's a 4-series book. It's Ishmael, My Ishmael, The Story of B, and Beyond Civilization. 4 amazing books that changed my life for forever, dude. Forever.
Yeah. No, yeah, because I was like that's the stuff I was get curious about because, like people know that I basically like manage kind of the band Principium.
Yeah.
And so like whenever time I see them like do certain stuff, I'm like, oh, I remember when I was their age. Like even though I'm still young, but like
Yeah.
I look at them, I'm like, oh man, like if I only I knew this advice, I could give it to them. I could like pass it down.
Yeah.
What kind of advice would you give like someone to me? I guess like I'm my mid-20s.
Yeah.
What kind of advice would you give like those kind of people or even the younger guys?
My advice is don't give up. Don't give up and just keep at it because like and that's why I admire what you're doing, you know? If you want a podcast, make a fucking podcast.
Yeah, it's
you know what I'm
simple.
saying? You want to play in a band, play in a fucking band. You know what I mean? Like there's no limit to what you can do. But and then earlier what you were mentioning about the facing the reality,
Yeah.
that is like unfortunately like most of what we all learn, we have to learn from experience and we have to go through it. So regardless of what I say, you're going to have to go through it.
I agree with that. I see
Yeah,
that,
because even if I tell you do this, do that, it might not work. You know, you're going to have to go through it anyway.
I see that a lot. Because now I work as a substitute teacher.
Yeah.
And there's this teacher who, she's very passionate about her students. That she tries to like give them life advice, and the kids don't. They're like whatever you say.
Yeah.
And like, but like I know like going through it, what she's gone through. I'm like I know what you mean. I wish the kids would listen, but like sometimes they don't listen, and then
Yeah.
it's not until like it hits them, then like
Yeah.
oh I should have paid attention to
Yeah.
my teacher, to anybody else who's in,
And it's important to understand that everybody learns at a different pace.
Pace, yeah.
So it's like you can't just like click
Mm-hmm.
and enlightenment or whatever. You know, there's not even such a thing. There's no such thing as enlightenment. It's just you being able to accept the moment you're in, the current moment, and then be present in that moment, and then feel fulfilled. You know, so
Yeah.
whether it's writing one song, your first song you've ever wrote, or whether it's playing your first show, or whether it's selling out your first show, or whether it's your first tour to Austin, like
Yeah.
every single thing, every single day has to be the best day
yes, agree.
in the moment, you know? And then you're never striving for anything that you're not going to get. And you're never going to be disappointed because you're already happy with what you have. That's, I think, the key to all of it is that philosophy. And that's, it's not even mine either. I think it's Eckhart Tolle who said, it's not about having what you want. It's about wanting what you have. That's very, very important.
It's very true. And going on about you, like you're a musician for a long time. What actually got you like to become a musician? Because I mean, it's one thing. Like I tell people, like it's one thing listening to music. It's like you know what, I would like to like play an instrument, but like it's a whole different situation actually doing it. What was your like musical journey going? Like starting from the beginning.
I had a late uncle, Uncle Joe. His birthday was on Christmas, so he would come down. He lived in Houston. He would come down every Christmas, and he played guitar.
Yeah.
And the whole family would gather around him, and we'd all sing. All my aunts, you know, my mom and everybody would all sing together, and everybody was so like joyous and happy. And I experienced firsthand, even all the kids were all around, I experienced firsthand the magic and the power of playing an instrument and using it as a tool to gather people and spread a positive energy. And so I would watch him play every Christmas as I was a little kid. And I think maybe I was in junior high when I got my first acoustic guitar. My cousin, my tia Oralia, gave me my cousin Michael's guitar, which was my Uncle Joe's guitar.
Yeah.
So I ended up having that. And I would just play by ear.
Okay.
Or back in those days, in the late 80s and the early 90s, there were guitar magazines at all the grocery stores, and there was this form of music writing called tablature, where it wasn't notes. It was actually
The
like
tabs,
one,
yeah.
two, three, four, your fingers on the sixth string. So it would tell you exactly where to put them and how to strum it. And so we'd go to the stores and we'd buy these magazines and we'd learn the songs that were popular, and that's what it was. And so anytime somebody asks me like, "Hey, I want to pick up guitar," or like, "What's your advice?" My advice is always just pick it up, get it, and start playing it, and then try to learn a song that you already like one of your favorite songs, because you're already familiar with it.
the sound, yeah.
Yeah. So then you just find it and you get comfortable with it. That's what I did. I started playing guitar. I played a little keyboard when I was a freshman. Got together with some other dudes and we formed a little band. You know, one of those high school garage bands.
Yeah.
And it never stopped. It never stopped from there. It never died. I ended up, like I said, I moved to San Marcos. I moved to Austin. And then I got to live through the era of 8-track, cassettes, CDs,
yeah.
and then computers. In 2004, I was able to piece together a computer, and a friend of mine gave me a cracked recording program. And that's where it started. Like, because I had been recording on a 4-track, you know, that I borrowed from somebody.
What's the process like with the 4 tracks?
What was the what?
Well, what's the process like with recording, like with that?
Oh, 4-track. So there were these little Tascam 4-tracks that literally had 4 tracks and a cassette tape. So you'd put the cassette tape in, you'd put an input in one, and then you'd record, and then you'd rewind, and it could record 4 tracks.
Oh, okay.
But then you could do what was called pinging, where you could take these 2 tracks and record them onto this 1 track. So then you'd free them up. So you just stack it and stack it and stack it over and over, and it would dull down the sound, obviously, because you're recording on the same tape over and over and over. And then what was cool too is that if you flipped the tape over and pressed play, it was backwards. It would play it backwards. So that was something really awesome we got to experience, you know, with that technology when it was around, because that's all we had. But once the computers came in, and I had always said this when it first happened, I said, computer programs for recording that have like all the VSTs, all the instruments and all that.
Yeah.
To me, what that represented was a manifestation of a dream of classical musicians like Beethoven and Mozart.
Yeah.
Having a dream of the future and saying, I wish there was an instrument where I could play all the instruments with my brain, and where I could compose it all and layer it all with my brain. And that's what the computer program was for recording. Of course, we would mix analog and digital at the time, 2004 to from 2003 to 2006, I had recorded like 108 original songs, man. I was putting them on CDs, and I was hopping on every single message board. Back then, it was all message boards.
Yeah.
And I was saying, free CD, just give me your address. Give me your address. Of course, back then, there was like, it wasn't so scary. So people would give their strangers an address. You know what I mean? Like, now you can't do that.
Nah.
Obviously, like, hey, give me your address. Who the hell are you? Well, I'm not going to give you.
Even
No,
worse,
I was like,
even worse, sometimes your address is already out there and you don't even know.
exactly.
scary.
So it's all out there. But no, back in the early 2000s, I would just go and be like, hey, free CD, free Ray Perez CD. You want it? Give me your address. And I'd send out these CDs. I sent them to the UK, to New Zealand, all over the United States, Canada. So, and that's how I started like spreading my stuff. And then, of course, social media came about, and then I graduated into that.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah.
I'm glad like you actually like you keep incorporating new technologies rather than saying like, you know what, this is good enough. I don't want to get on any more technology, because some people just become like that. We're like, you know what, I don't.
Yeah.
And they stagnate with technology.
Yeah. No, I remember having a specific conversation with Tony back when MySpace only had 15 million users. Okay.
Wow.
15 million is nothing.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of MySpace, of social media. And it was like the biggest boom thing, like, oh my God, 15 million users. And Tony at first was a little like hesitant about it. But the way I rationalized it to him was, I said, look, man, right now there are 15 million people staring at their computer screen, and you have the opportunity to put yourself right in front of them. Your songs, your pictures, whatever you're doing.
Everything.
So why not take advantage of that? And so that philosophy is what's kept me going through TikTok, through Facebook, through through Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. Like I join all of it because why wouldn't I put myself out there where it's available for free for people to see your stuff? You know, it's people give a real bad rap to the word exposure because obviously it's been exploited.
Yeah.
Right. But exposure is literally the most important part of being successful in the music industry. Whether it's, and I'm not even just talking about money. I'm talking about spreading
Yeah, your
a
music.
message, your
Yeah.
music. Yeah, you know, like hello. That's
Yeah.
the freaking point, is to get it to as many people as possible. Like I said, it has been exploited to where people hear the word
Yeah.
exposure and they cringe automatically
Even the word,
because they think,
even the word influencer. Like
Yeah.
before, it was like a big thing. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna become, I want to become an influencer.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of like, oh, like
Yeah,
influencer. Yeah.
no, and I mean that happens to all things.
Yeah.
They get spoiled, but you know, as long as you can realize the positive in things and the utility in things and the usefulness of things, and like I said, if you're not hurting anybody else, you do
Yeah.
whatever you can to feel fulfilled or to feel at peace, you know, because that's all anybody wants, is just to feel like we belong,
Yeah.
you know, to a story, and that's why people join gangs, cults,
Yeah.
religions,
Everybody wants to feel something like they belong
jobs,
somewhere. Yeah.
careers. Like everybody wants to be a part and belong. And so the key is to find a story that you feel comfortable being a part of, and write that story if it doesn't exist. You know,
Yeah.
if it doesn't exist, if you can't find a story that you fit in, if you can't find a place to fit in, write it yourself, create it yourself. You know.
Yeah, I agree with that because like I experienced that like straight out of college where with my generation, like college has always been like pushed towards us. Like
Yeah.
I'm a first gen person with college and everything.
Yeah.
And then once you get out of college, some people were like, even the smartest kids in my class, they didn't get the jobs they wanted.
Yeah.
Some of them moved like up north and they're working at HEB or a coffee shop.
Yeah.
They're not working in that job that they so wanted, with, like working throughout college and everything. So it's kind of like, what do we do? What do we do now? And I think some people just say, you know what, we'll settle down and just do whatever like jobs are available. But my experience was like you have to make your own path because one of my first job interviews straight out of college was due to my professor, and I started realizing, hey, a lot of jobs here in the valley, or maybe somewhere else it applies, but as far as I know here in the valley, you need connections to like find these jobs that you can't like go to like Google and say like advertising jobs. You won't really find good stuff.
Yeah.
But if you have the connections, you'll easily go to like the
Yeah.
right people.
Yeah.
And this like this radio station one time, they didn't like me because I was inexperienced. I'm like I'm a beginner. Like I'm literally going out of college to get this job.
Yeah.
And they were kind of smug, like, oh, you don't have that much experience, this and that. They showed me around the studio. What I didn't know was basically it was like to kick me out. Like, oh, here's this department. Here, like if you get the job, this is the department you'll be working at. And then like you saw like the exit sign, and you can go out there and depending on how things go, we'll give you a call.
Oh,
I'm like, yeah. But I think it's because
you.
I think that lady accidentally took me as being an asshole because she asked if I listened to it like any other radio stations, but like no one like
Yeah.
who listens to radio?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then I started being kind of petty because later on, like I saw the news, and like 2 months later, like that radio station like went underground. And I'm like, like oh well,
Yeah,
that's what you
yeah.
get.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of petty, but at the same time, like, I understood like why they
That's
needed
funny,
someone who
yeah.
was like really experienced because
Yeah.
they need to save their careers, but
Yeah,
that
yeah.
didn't work out.
Nah, they were destined.
Yeah,
to
and so
die.
like that's made me realize, you know what? If people aren't gonna give me this shot, like I need to do it myself, or else it's never
Yeah.
gonna work out.
And that story is a great example. And there's a lyric by NoFX that says "Dinosaurs will die," and they're talking about the music industry.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a reality that people have to face too.
Yeah.
Is that if you don't adapt,
Yeah, that's
you're gone. You're done. You're done. You'll die. Adapt or die.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's my story for the last 30 years. Like how you said, I've been just changing with the
the times,
technology.
yeah.
You have to. 'Cause
Adapt or die.
That's it. That's all. Everything is always changing. You know.
And it's been working out for you pretty well because before you even posted on Instagram, I use TikTok a lot, and I saw you at the Pulga with Bronco 956 dancing around as Juany Depp.
Yes.
How did all of that start? Like the dressing up and all that stuff. Like,
Dude, so let me tell you about that. That's actually been pretty cool that's going viral finally.
Yeah.
So it was about August of last year
Mm-hmm.
when I created that character. And it was an accident because my dad had given me a hat, this one hat that I had,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like a Freddy Krueger hat, but something happened where it reminded me of a Johnny Depp thing. So then I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna create like a parody of it, right? And so I went online and looked at like, okay, what really it makes up Johnny Depp, and he has these accessories
Oh, yeah,
that
he has, like, a bunch of
define him:
necklaces and
the
all stuff.
necklaces,
The
the
rings. Yeah,
bracelets, the
bracelets.
rings, the blue glasses, the hat like this, the hair and the little mustache thing. So I was like, oh, I'll incorporate all that. I'll create this character, and I created a whole backstory. I said that Juany Debt is trying to sue Johnny Depp because he claims that Johnny Depp stole his persona.
Oh, okay.
He's the real one that acts like that, and Johnny Depp stole it from him. I just played around with it, because that's what I do. Like I told you, I'm an actor, I'm a comedian, I'm a writer. I have this little puppet. I was doing ventriloquism for a little while.
Yeah.
On TikTok too, but I did a couple of little skits or whatever, and just like improvs with Juany Debt, and I got a couple of views here and there, and then I had already retired that character. I had already done away with it, and then all of a sudden I saw Bronco 956 blow up, and I said, "Shit,
Time to bring that character out.
this is time to bring Juany Debt out because it's perfect. It fucking fit perfectly, dude. It's a parody, right? But it's also like." I don't look like Johnny Depp or sound like him or act like him. It's basically like a Pulga knockoff version, So that was the perfect irony, that like it fits so well that it's not Johnny Depp, doesn't fucking look like him. It's the cheap knockoff version. Like it started off like a Wish.com. I said, oh, Wish.com, Johnny Depp. That was the first one I said, right? This is Wish.com, Johnny Depp. So then from Wish.com, Bronco came out, so that was perfect. The Pulga. I went out there. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I had to do something.
Yeah.
So I went out there. I did that crazy dance in front of the cameras. I took a selfie with Bronco. I took a selfie with La Chacalosa.
Yeah.
And then I said, boom, this is it. And that's how it got started. And then I went back, and this that time this lady, Lydia Flores, she had videotaped me and put it on TikTok. And she hit, like, I was freaking out. I was following it. She hit like over 1 million views.
Yeah, it went really crazy. And when I saw it, I'm like, is that right?
Dude. And so then it worked perfectly because then everybody started saying new character unlocked. New character unlocked.
New character dropped,
Yeah. So then every week now somebody else was coming up or coming out because there was already several personalities there. So now they call it Los Famosos de la Pulga 956. And so even the band and everybody's into it. It's a whole thing, dude. It's a vibe. And it's really fucking cool because when I first saw it, I couldn't believe it, man. Like, literally, there were thousands of people there, and they all, like, wanted to film this guy. They all wanted to go live, and they all wanted pictures with him. I was like, holy shit. And so by the next 2 or 3 weeks, I started getting people like, hey, Johnny Depp 956, hey, can I get a selfie? Yeah, orale. And it was funny, though, because the demographic of the Juany Depp fans, right?
Yeah.
The first type of person that came up to me was, like, cholos.
For reals?
Yeah, like, Cholo dudes, vato, tú eres el Johnny Depp 956. Órale, un selfie o qué onda, güey? Yeah, come on. Órale, psh, psh. And then I was like, all right, cool. And then these girls, and I was like, oh, they're like, Johnny Depp, come take a picture. And I was like, oh. And then I thought I was going to take a picture of them. They're like, ama, tía, ponte ahí. So I'm taking pictures with old ladies. So that's my demographic. Old ladies and gangster cholos. Yeah, they love Juany Depp. And I don't care, man. I love it. To me, it's all fun. It's all fun. Then I filmed that one fight. There was a fight there, and I filmed it, and it went fucking viral. I already have 2.5 million views on it.
Oh,
And from that, I've already gotten 6,000 followers and 270,000 likes. So I'm using it to my advantage.
Yeah.
I mean, that was part of my plan. It's all calculated. People think I'm a fucking idiot dancing around. Oh, look at this fucking guy dressing like that, acting like a fucking dumbass. Yeah. Hello. That's, like I said, that's the point of this shit.
It's exposure.
It's demonstrably what it is. It's just acting a fool in front of a camera, and people can go fucking crazy over it,
Yeah, because you act normal, no one's going to care.
Yeah. But now I can use this to my advantage because I get the views and the follows, and I can throw in a little me playing guitar all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying? And then I get more. Now I'm releasing a TikTok video I released The one of the sheriff on Sunday, I already got 20,000 views on it. What's today?
nice.
Wednesday. I did some stupid one about a burrito, like a 10-second one that normally nobody would even watch, and it's already like 3,000 views. You know what I mean? Like, not because of anything, just because of the way the internet works and the way virality works, and you understand that. Yes, it is an algorithm, so figure it out and learn how to work it. You
And
know?
it really, all the algorithm is, because people are like argue about it, but like all it is just people's human behavior. That's all it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
If you understand how people work,
Yeah.
that's why the news is like so like
Yeah.
like whenever the news like says like crazy stories or like, like dramatic music,
Yeah.
it's because it's just to catch your attention.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's an algorithm itself is like it's code. It's a term from coding. That's like a formula, like something that works. You know,
Yeah.
it's like a pattern, right? And so that's what you do. You figure out the pattern, and then you jump in and you create your own little path in there. You know, squeeze through there if you can. You know, that's what I'm doing with Juany Debt. It's fun.
Yeah, and it's worked out. And then like,
Yeah, I have. I got invited VIP to a fashion show. Fish is having a fashion show in West Lacona in a couple of weeks. And then fucking Fastball, the band from the 90s that did the song The Way,
yeah.
they fucking invited me to their show at South by Southwest just
Oh,
to be in the
shit.
crowd as Juany Debt and hype people up. So that's fucking
That's
dope.
fucking
Yeah,
badass,
he came
yeah.
on we're friends on Facebook, but he actually commented on my comment section, was like, hey, do you play guitar? You're going to be in Austin? And then I messaged him like, hey, what's up? Did you really want me to play guitar? And he's like, well, we're actually going to be filming a live album
Oh,
and
wow.
recording, so we're not going to get you to play, but I want you in the crowd and just get everybody hyped up and freak everybody out. Like, I'm there, dude.
Shit.
I'm there. So, and then I also have a local filmmaker that's taking the story and adapting it, and he's going to make a film out of it too. He's going to be going with me to Austin and film some footage and
That's
stuff.
freaking cool.
Dude, we're going to roll with it, dude. Yeah, the movie idea that he gave me is outstanding. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but
No. Yeah, say that for some time.
Oh, it's so good. Like, after we release the movie, we'll do another interview.
Definitely. And not only that, but I know you were also in another movie because you had mentioned something about Robert Duvall, right?
Yeah. So,
yeah. What was that like?
That was an amazing experience. So, in 2012, Robert Duvall came down to Brownsville. They were filming a movie called A Night in Old Mexico. They couldn't cross to Mexico, so they made downtown Brownsville look like Mexico. This friend of mine that was from the Valley, but became a playwright and an actor in New York and in L.A., Michael Reyes Camilla, peace be upon him. He passed away in 2021. I had auditioned for him. Him and his friend came down to the Valley, and they wrote a play called Basilica. And I had auditioned for them, and they really liked my audition, but I wasn't able to get the part because I had a business trip I had to take. So I declined the part, all confident, like if I was gonna get it. They didn't even give it to me yet, but I'm like, sorry guys, I can't take the part. It's gonna conflict with my schedule. I'm sure they got a kick out of that, but they did like it, and so he kept in contact with me. And he emailed me and he said, dude, you got to audition. They need a role of a beggar in the street. And he's going to have a speaking role with Robert Duvall. I said, what? Yeah, dude, do it. So then I I call him and I was like, hey, I want to do this audition. They're like, all right, be here at 5. I said, well, I work till 5 and I live in Mission. Is there any way I can be there a little bit late? And they're like, all right, fine, 6:30. All right, so I haul ass over there. I had to borrow my mom's car because my car broke down. I got lost because I never go to Brownsville.
Yeah, it's a whole different situation.
So I stopped at a convenience store and I asked for directions, and then I bought a peace tea, those 99-cent 24 ounces. But I told the lady, hey, can you give me a brown bag? So I put it in a brown bag. It looked like a mofle, like a beer.
Yeah.
And so I walk into the audition, and I'm like, hey, I'm here for the audition. And they're like, I'm Ray Perez. And they're like, okay, we're a little busy right now. Can you come back in like 30 minutes? I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll be back. So I walk away, and then they send a lady after me. She's like, hey. I'm like, yeah, what's up? She's like, are you drinking? And I go, no, it's tea. She goes, because they were going to tell me, don't come back if you're drinking. I'm like, no. So then I came back 30 minutes later, and I'm like, sorry about the misunderstanding. I said, I'm a method actor. I'm supposed to be a homeless beggar, so, I'm pretending it's a beer. And so I did the audition in front of a camera. They sent it to the director, who was this guy from Spain. He liked it. They called me the very next day, and they go, we're offering you the part. It's a SAG rate of $500.
Yeah.
will you take it? And I was like, fuck yeah, I'll take it.
Hell yeah.
What the fuck? Dude, and then when they gave me the call time and I went, I showed up and it was like a line that said extras or whatever. And so I go and I'm standing over there because I feel like I'm just an extra.
Yeah.
And this lady's like, Ray Perez? I was like, yeah. She's like, no, you're not an extra. You're an actor. You need to come over here. I was like, what the fuck? We had our own trailers and the craft tables and the wardrobe and the makeup.
Oh,
Dude,
shit.
it was an amazing experience. And then they carted me out to the scene on a golf cart. And people, all the extras are looking at me like,
Yeah,
who the
who's
fuck
that?
is this vato? And I was a nobody, like literally my first role in a movie ever. But it was so awesome and it was amazing. And I did the scene with Robert Duvall. It's a badass little scene where I ask him for money.
Yeah.
He says, I say, give me $1, watch me cut myself. And I have some cuts and a knife. And he goes, here's a 5, go cut your damn throat. And he gives me the 5. And then I do the sign of the cross and I walk off. And then they walk off. It's him and his grandson in the scene. And we do the scene like 4 times. I give him the $5 back every time. And then after the 4th one, I was talking with the writer, Bill Whitliff, who also passed away, peace be upon him. He was the writer of Lonesome Dove also. He'd been trying to get this movie made for like 30 years, but they finally got somebody to do it and a company to pick it up for like $2 million, and that was low budget. He told me, he's like, hey, don't worry, man, that scene is going to be in the movie. And I was like, what? I was like, yeah. He's like, that happened to me in real life. Somebody came up to me and asked me if I wanted to pay him to cut himself. And he's like, so I really want that in there. And I was like, awesome, man.
Shit.
Thank you. And then I hung out with Robert Duvall for a little bit. He was there, and I went up to him and I said, thank you so much. It was a great experience. He said, are you an actor? And I said, no, I'm just a regular guy. You know, I just auditioned. And he was like, well, you did a great job. And I said, thank you so much. And
Wow.
and then they sent me another check. I ended up making like $1,100 from that little, and it's like a 20-second scene.
Yeah.
And I was, you know, in a spoken, or what do you call it, speaking role
Speaking
opposite Academy Award winner Robert Duvall. There's some actors that like go to LA and work their whole life and dream of doing something like that. And I did it from here.
Here in the valley.
Here in the valley. And then another accomplishment like that it's kind of like all these things, like sometimes I think they're flukes, like, oh, it's just a fluke, but it keeps happening. So it's like, it's not a fluke.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the truth of what I've been talking about for all these years, is that if you want something, you can manifest it, but not by dreaming and wishing and making some magic happen. No, it's by dreaming and wishing and believing and then working towards that goal. Whatever you have to do, the universe will guide you towards it. And the steps you have to take to get there, you'll be shown that path. you
Yeah.
know?
There's this thing called that I remember was called luck is preparedness plus opportunity.
There you go. There you go. So another opportunity that came my way was this website called hitrecord.org. It was by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who's a Hollywood A-list actor.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
in 50-50, Batman. Third Rock from the Sun since he was a kid. He had this website where anybody could go up and upload music and download and remix stuff. So we were on there for a couple years, and then I found a beat and I rapped on it, and then he liked it, and so he rapped the second verse. And then so that song got put on they had a compilation album called Recollection Volume 1. That was a book, a DVD, and a CD. Our rap was on there. And he toured it around the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, Jay Leno.
Jay Leno, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was holding that CD we're on, saying, hey, yeah, this is our CD, this is our CD. I'm on that CD.
Is that still available, like the songs?
Yeah. You can actually go on hitrecord.org and buy it. It's called Recollection Volume 1. I actually have a copy there. I'll show it to you
Yeah,
after
it'd be
we're done,
interesting to see that.
just so you can see it. And I think I have the $5 bill from Robert Duvall.
Yeah.
I kept it. On the
Oh,
last
wow.
scene, I didn't give it back. And I have it in a frame, dude. I have it in
No,
a
I
frame.
would've done the same thing.
Yeah, dude. Hell yeah. So I've had all these great experiences from the seat of my couch, so to speak.
Yeah.
But it's just, and I tell these stories not to brag or to boast,
No.
but to inspire. You know what I mean? Like, that's literally the point of me even sharing this shit, is so people can say, what? If this fucking idiot
Yeah.
can do it, I can do it. You know, like,
And
if they look at me and be like, what? What the fuck does this guy have? Nothing. I'm just like everybody else. Just like everybody else. We're all these unique, wonderful beings, you know, that coexist, and we can do anything we want if we work hard and work together.
No, I agree. And I didn't know that story with Robert Duvall. It was interesting because when you had mentioned that story on Instagram, I got curious because I watched, I see like archives of a radio show called Open Anthony. And Robert Duvall was like promoting that film. And he had mentioned like he came down to like Brownsville and like he talked about his story and all that stuff. I'm like, oh shit, like this is it's really interesting.
Nice.
And I think there's gonna be a lot more opportunities with coming down to the valley because a couple of years back there was this it was called Bollywood, which is like the Indian films.
Yeah.
There was like a scene specifically seen here in the valley because they were talking about like crossing the border and a bunch of other stuff like to get to the U.S. safely.
Nice.
Because they're getting chased like by cartels or I don't know what it was.
Cool.
My uncle got like a scene and somehow I don't know how it happened, but like
Nice.
it was here. I think it was here in downtown McAllen or something,
Cool.
where they shot a scene and there's like a gang like driving by and shooting them, and I saw like my uncle like duck down and all that stuff, and I'm like, there's all these like opportunities coming down
Yeah.
here. I mean, we were talking about that earlier too,
Dude, and I have to mention this. So last year, I acted in this short film by Zach Rodriguez called "This Is Who I Was," and he submitted it to the South Texas International Film Festival, which is our local film festival.
Yes.
Here now it's based in Edinburgh, and I think last year was the 8th annual. I could be wrong. I think it was the 8th annual, maybe 9th. I don't know, but they submitted that film. They nominated me they created a new category called RGV Best Actor, and I won the fucking award, dude.
Damn.
RGV Best Actor 2022. I'll show you that award too. I have it up.
you said Zach Rodriguez, right?
Yeah.
Is he like a morenito, chubby?
Yeah.
Glasses? He's actually from my town.
Yes, he is from your town.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
from your town.
Yeah,
dude.
he
Yeah.
was,
That guy's a badass.
He was like I think a junior or senior when I think he was a senior when I was a freshman.
Oh, okay,
It's
cool,
great. It's small
Yeah,
town.
dude.
It's
Small world, the
Small
valley.
world.
Yeah. But I mean, that's how the scene is so connected. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so much talent. We're all gonna run into each other, here and there in a project or whatever. But yeah, I've done several projects with Zach, and he's amazing to work with. And I'm glad I got the opportunity because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have got that award and that recognition. And it's just another example of what I'm saying. Like, dude, do whatever the fuck you want. Don't let nobody discourage you. Don't let nobody knock you down.
No, I agree. I find it crazy because there's like all this stuff, but like the valley doesn't really know about it. Like the music scene was like my main thing, but like the film festivals, how many people go to them? Because as far as I know, like if I talk to like a regular person off the street, they're not gonna know what the South Texas film festival is.
And I think you hit it right on the nail as to what really is the problem in the valley. It's not that there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
It's not that these avenues don't exist. It's that I just don't know if we have the greatest system of broad communication. Because I don't think the internet is quite it. I mean, maybe, but I just don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I know that you're right because a situation happened at the South Texas International Film Festival where the guest of honor and the guy showing the feature movie, his documentary, Pepe Serna, who's been in over 100 Hollywood films and in the most famous Scarface. He was in The Jerk. He's been just a great freaking man, a great actor, and it was a great movie. There was nobody there to watch it. They were all there for the celebrity panel. People from The Walking Dead. They want like a nobody background actor from The Walking Dead to them was more important than this legendary actor Pepe Serna, which I guess is a testament to the times. Like everybody just wants what's viral or what's popular, But yeah, I saw it firsthand there. It was very disappointing. It was like, damn, dude.
And that discourages them from even coming back anymore. Like, why come to McAllen or Edinburgh?
We did a vendor market, or I was the open mic guy at a vendor market at the Dungeon. It was a Sunday afternoon, beautiful, a bunch of badass vendors, man. Nobody was there, and it was just like, and I guess it's like I said, it's just like a miscommunication thing where it's like we're missing how to connect with everybody on a broad scale where the right people are going to be matched with the right events because there's thousands of people wanting to go to a film festival, you know, and because they did it up real good. The South Texas International Film Festival.
For the pictures I saw, look really nice.
Freaking Hollywood, dude. It was totally like legit, like top notch. It was very cool. I was totally impressed. And I mean, the quality of the movies that they're making now, dude, here in the Valley, like Hugo Rodriguez does a bunch of badass movies. The actors are fucking amazing. Pete Mendoza's a badass actor. He was nominated with me also, man. That guy's a badass actor. I've worked with him several times. But yeah, I mean, the talent is amazing. There's so much talent. And we get to see it in the music scene, right? Luckily, through the open mics, like I said, that's an avenue for people to get themselves out. And we've seen it work. You know, we've seen it happen. You know, somebody will play for the first time at the Gremlin at an open mic, and then all of a sudden they pick up and boom, they're playing gigs everywhere. But that's the system that I'm telling you. Like, it's not. We're not making this up. It makes itself up. It's organic. You know, there's people there and they want to hear new music, and you're going to give them the new music, and they're going to like it, and they're going to want to see you again. Like, that's just the way it is, you know? And if you don't play into that, then, I mean, that's your choice. But if it's there for you, why not take advantage? Why not be like, fuck, let's go fucking play here. There's always people, they want to hear music. Let's fucking do it, you know? And that's what it's been, and I'm very happy with the way it goes there.
I think part of the reason why it works so well is because something, I'm not sure how many people notice this, but when it comes to the concerts, it's not just about the music. There's a whole like social aspect about it where you're gathering with your friends and you're going to see like people perform, but like sometimes you might not be interested in it, so you like talk with your friends. So people should realize that all these events should be social events first, and then the music or movies or whatever it is. So I think that's one of the things that people forget about, that they need to focus on that social aspect of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very important. I think that's number one, and that's why you've been to my open mics. I always talk about shit. I'm always talking. You know what I'm saying? Like, and part of what I talk about is the fact that we're there exchanging energy, and it's about positivity. And so, you know, the people are on their stage pouring their hearts out. The people are in the audience giving that energy back, and it's a beautiful thing. And like you said, like you could be talking with your friends or whatever, but when they're done, then just clap and show appreciation, and everybody's happy. It works out. You know what I mean? It's the exchange of energy, because it's really, it's what we are. We're like living in this energy field. You know what I mean? And we talk about being happy or being at peace. These are the vibes we're talking about, you know. And I don't want to get it like sound all fucking new age and be like, oh, frequencies.
No. But that's the thing. Like, that's the truth. Like the whole thing about like MRIs and like all this like electrical stuff. Like, we are electrical beings.
Thank you. Yeah, like without getting too new agey, metaphysics is a real thing, and quantum mechanics is a real thing, and it's a function of us. Our brain is electricity.
Yeah.
Vibrations, sounds are waves. You know what I mean? Light is waves and particles. Like, it's. We know this is real. This is science. This is proven.
Yeah.
So we have this kind of like a self-denial thing where we're like, oh, that's not us though. We're not part of that. That's science. That's nature. We disconnect ourselves and see ourselves as these non-being beings, but we are like in it.
Yeah, because I was reading recently, because I was going, like, there's some like health stuff going on, how people confuse heart attacks and cardiac arrest. So heart attacks, from what just make sure you fact check me just in case if I get it wrong with the health. But as far as I know, heart attacks are caused by like blocked arteries. But cardiac arrest, that's when like you're having like electrical problem with your body, and then eventually your heart like stops. Yeah. It's not like plaque buildup of like the fats and all that stuff. Yeah. And the reason I say that is because recently there was a story somewhere, I think in Florida or somewhere else, where this lady, she was pronounced dead, but she wasn't. She was still alive. She was just under cardiac arrest, which is different from dying. And so the EMS people, they got fired, and they lost their license because they had said that they pronounced her dead, but she wasn't.
Dang, dude.
And that's when I started, when you were saying about like the whole energy thing, like that's what it is. Like, we're energy.
Yeah, it is. And like my favorite one that I've been using so far is the one about the wind. You know,
the wind,
because I love that, because. And I say that there's an invisible energy that's so strong, you can feel it pressing against your skin. You can feel it blowing you can see it blowing the leaves, and they just want to tell you it's wind. But the point is that so many things about life are wonderful, are full of wonder, and seem magical, but we make them trivial. Like, oh, it's meaningless. It's just wind.
Yeah.
It's just wind blowing. Like, no, fucker, that's fucking energy, invisible energy blowing you almost off your feet, you know, and like. The fucking planet is spinning literally, and gravity is holding us down like in place. It's a wondrous thing to be alive, You
It's
know?
basically like, and that sounds kind of silly, but it's basically how Narnia is. I'm not sure if you seen the movie or read the books, but basically it's about like the joy of like wonder and like all this stuff. And then people, I don't want to ruin it for people, but like eventually some of the characters like they stop believing in that magic, and they can no longer return to that world of like fantasy. And they're like some of them lost like family members in that world because there were like this whole battle between like the good and the bad people, whatever.
Okay.
And well, eventually one of the characters just grows up, and well, she loses that touch with the magic, and she can no longer go with her family and all that stuff. So I mean, yeah, it's so
Yeah.
people need to keep that joy.
Yeah, yeah, and that is, and that's why I like to open with the magic shows too, because it opens that sense of wonder. It gives us back that childlike wonder, which is, it's a treasure. It's so important, and that is the first thing that I think as humans is that we lose, you know, because we're kids have that sense of wonder and curiosity, and if you don't maintain that sense of wonder and curiosity, that's where, you know, I'm not talking about clinical depression, but some kind of self-induced depression can happen, you know, because there's different forms of depression, you know. But one of them is being able to connect or feel disconnected, and then you're like, I'm depressed, I'm sad.
Yeah.
And so one way that's been able to help me through that is, like I said, is to find these stories, these narratives where I feel connected, where I feel like I'm a part of something. And I think being a host at the open mics and connecting with the community has really, really helped me feel like I belong, and feel like I'm contributing. Yeah, I know some people think it's bullshit, but I don't give a fuck what people think. And that's what, I mean, I think that's what I want people to know about me. I don't give a fuck as long as I'm not hurting anybody else. You know what I'm saying? And I am creating a narrative where I don't even know if I'm creating it or I'm just living in it, but I'm having fun. I'm not hurting anybody. And I think that being at the Gremlin and hosting an open mic gives an avenue not only to myself, because remember I told you it started as a personal thing. Like I just wanted a place where I could play original music, and not have to fucking sell myself as some cover band or something. And that's where the open mics were born. And so it's just been going since then, and it's still going, and it'll go on forever. And I could be a fucking 80-year-old fart dude playing my damn songs. Welcome to open mic night. I don't care.
If the Rolling Stones can do it, you can.
Yeah,
why not
dude.
you?
And not only that, it's like I said, every day is the peak. Every day is the peak, because every moment, like this moment, is the only one we have.
Yeah, there's no past or future.
Yeah, yeah. It's like we're surfing on the crest of creation, like I say, the wave of creation. It's constantly creating. Like right now, it's just happening as it's happening, and that's all we have. And so, you know, I can reflect on this or that, but it doesn't matter. It's just this moment, and I love it. I always want to feel like I'm in it and loving it.
I agree with that. I mean, just there is no other moments. I mean, it's right now. That's it. And do you ever like have those dark thoughts where like, hey, when is the last moment? Because that sometimes happens to me, and I'm not sure why. Like, I mean, I think everybody goes through it where you kind of get worried about like the future, like what's gonna happen. Especially now, because like I sometimes like I think what gets me into those moods is when I see stories about people like my age passing away. And I'm like, oh shit, like that could have been me.
Yeah.
Because some people, you know, they're driving. Because I drive from La Villa all the way to McAllen.
Yeah.
It's constant driving, and sometimes the traffic in far gets really, really bad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit, like this could be me.
No, yeah, and that's completely. I think that's completely normal, and I think everybody goes through that. I think everybody has those moments where there's doubt and darkness comes into play, and I think that's why it's important to have tools, mental tools, that allow you to decipher one moment from the next, so that you're not swallowed by it or head in some downward spiral where you can't get out of it, because then it becomes dangerous. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you are going to take the waves, because everything's in waves.
Life's not like a straight thing.
Yeah,
It's
no,
just waves.
the waves are going to come up and down, and they can get real far low. But just as long as you have the capacity to understand that the low is definitely going to come up again, then you'll be okay, you know?
How do you deal with time? Like in terms of like, I guess like, I constantly hear like people in like high school, because I work in high school, and some of the kids are like, "Oh my god, like I believe I can become 21. I'm feeling so old." And I'm like, "You're 21. I mean, But then like it happens to me like, oh shit, like I'm almost gonna hit 30.
Yeah.
How do you deal with like those decades passing by? Like how do you deal with that?
So it first happened. I think the discovery of where I'm at with time and dealing with it happened when my son Thomas turned 12. I think he turned 12, and I went into the room and I said, "How do you feel? You're 12 now." And he said, "I feel the same as I felt yesterday." And I said, "That's exactly right, and you're never going to feel any different." So when you're 16, you're still going to feel the same. When you're 20, you're still going to feel the same. You're still going to be you. And that's the thing. It's like the passing of time is it can be very, very depressing for people, right?
Yeah.
Especially when old age comes into play. It can be depressing, especially when you lose people, when people die and you don't have them anymore.
What about those backaches?
Yeah, the backaches suck. That's, I think, the worst stage. But I think that, like I said, if you just accept that life and death are part of each other, and I think my favorite take is from Alan Watts, who said that life is like a musical thing. He says it's like a dance thing. He says you don't try to race to get to the end of the song, otherwise it would just be the end of the song. And when you're dancing, you're not trying to get from one point A to point B. He's like, the point of life was to enjoy it, like if it was a song, like if it was a dance. So with the decades passing, for me, I want to look at it like, man, I've gotten to dance this long. I've gotten to sing this long. I've gotten to live this long. Instead of, damn, all these years are gone and I didn't do anything, which some people will have those regrets if they didn't live according to a way that felt, like I said, fulfilled, because it's a personal thing and it's different for everybody, right? Some people get fulfilled with money. Some people get fulfilled with traveling. Some people get fulfilled with hosting open mics like me.
There you go.
I'm happy with what I do. And so the passing of the years to me is just, it's just another testament to the fact that I've been able to enjoy my life for this long, and hopefully we'll continue more.
Yeah. I think that's a good mindset to have. Because sometimes I think about that a little too much thing sometimes. Just because I'm like, because the thing I was telling someone, like, some of my younger friends, I'm like, when you're like young, like a young teen, the milestone is 18. Because you can start like driving, smoking, a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
The next milestone is 21 because you can start legally drinking.
Yeah.
After that, it's like 25, 30, 35, 40. And there's no other next milestone where like, oh shit, like I cannot start doing this. Now it's just...
Yeah,
the years are
I'm
passing
40.
by.
I'm 45.
Yeah,
I'm 45 years old, and so coming from somebody that I feel like yesterday I was 21, it's just like that, man.
Yeah, really quick.
It's a blink. I have 3 kids. They're all grown and shit. And damn, man, life is crazy. It's a trip, but it's exactly what it is. It's a trip. It's a journey. And there's the journey is the destination. I'm all cliches. But
that's the thing. Like the thing about cliches is like there's something called like internal truth, and that's what it is. Like there's a cliche for a reason. Even like I know some people don't like this word, but like even with stereotypes, like there's some kind of truth to it where you notice certain patterns that repeat a lot,
and pattern recognition is very important because the whole fucking universe is just like this repeating fractal pattern. What we see it in the spirals,
mathematics,
the Fibonacci sequence, the golden spiral, and the galaxies and the Earth, and I mean it's a beautiful thing. It's complex, and we'll never have the capacity to completely understand. And I think that's another good point or another good perspective to have to accept is that as a human being, we don't have the intellectual capacity to ever understand because a subset of the whole can never understand the whole. We're just a little tiny piece, so we have no possible way to understand what the whole universe is. Never. We never will. So you can accept it because it gets scary sometimes.
Yeah.
The unknown. But I think being okay with not knowing sometimes is okay.
Yeah, sometimes it's better not to know.
Yeah.
The whole ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
But I think eventually it might happen where we might start earning a lot more. My job was crazy or something because I've been getting interested in a lot with like technology going on right now. So the big thing right now is like AI. Like I'm not sure if you heard of like Chat GPT
Oh yeah.
whatever.
Oh yeah.
Where it's making stories.
Yeah.
And even on TikTok, I'm seeing stories where like there's these people I follow, like like just like Joe Rogan, like anybody who like speaks a lot, like
Yeah.
famous people.
Yeah.
And not only is Chat GPT, whatever it's called,
Yeah.
able to like make stories that sounds like you, like how you speak.
Yeah.
There's also like combining it with AI voice things that like they get samples of your voice like you speaking.
Yeah.
And it's able to make like a whole like conversation that sounds
Yeah.
like you and it's not
Yeah.
you.
Like, and that's the deep fakes.
Yeah,
of
the deep fakes.
videos, man. Those are crazy.
Yeah.
Because
And-
it looks like them saying something, and they never said that.
Yeah, and some of them are sounding really good. Like I listen
Yeah.
a lot to Joe Rogan's podcast,
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
fact that since you speak a lot, there's more samples to work off of.
Exactly.
And now, like,
exactly.
and it could be like new. And I'm thinking, like, what about like when it comes to like singers? Like, what if people start making their own songs using your voice?
Dang.
It's really
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, technology is nuts.
And then the whole thing about the mind, like, there's the whole thing with Elon Musk with the Neuralink, where
Yeah.
the main benefit is like it can help people restore their eyesight because it's
Yeah.
all like
Yeah.
your brain.
Shit.
And pretty
Yeah.
soon, like because I mean, people don't really think about it, but like we're already basically like androids. I mean, we're attached to our phones.
Yeah.
We need
absolutely.
it for everything.
Absolutely.
It's a matter of fact before we just combine this with ourselves and we are the interface.
Yeah.
Rather than this being the interface.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I see it.
Yeah.
I see it. And what's scary is once you see it, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, it starts as a vision and then it becomes a reality. I mean, look at this.
Yeah.
Look at what we have.
How was it when like when smartphones started coming out? Because like I kind of grew up with it, but like I was like in the middle. Like everything about
Yeah.
me has always been in the middle. Like
Yeah.
I'm not like millennial or Gen Z. I'm like
Yeah.
right in the middle. So like
Yeah.
I was able to see the thing between like VHS to DVD to
Yeah.
Blu-ray.
Yeah.
From like flip phones to like the
Yeah.
sidekicks where like the little
Yeah.
keyboard comes out.
Yeah.
To this.
Yeah.
But you saw a lot more.
Yeah.
How was that like?
It's been crazy because, like we said earlier, I was talking about the music
Yeah,
advancements
social media
and
and all stuff.
technologies and social media. Well, I'm glad you brought up the phones because that has literally been parallel to the music thing, right? Obviously. But I came from landlines. No cell phones even existed
Yeah.
when I was a kid. And then it was the big, huge bag phones that people put in their cars, and only rich people had them. And then came the affordable phones. And then I remember the first text messages, dude.
Oh, wow.
I worked at AT&T Wireless. And what they did was they had these things called Palm Pilots. So a Palm Pilot was the first little tablet like that.
Those are the ones that did like emails, right? Too or no?
Huh?
Or was it just text, or did they also do emails? The Palm Pilots.
No, it was emails.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was emails but before it was just like a little note, a little electronic note
Yeah.
thing until they hooked it up with the wireless network and then they sent the first text message. It was called the first system by AT&T Wireless for text messages was called Pocket Net. It's when they combined the internet, the phones, and the Palm Pilot, and they created. And I remember like it was a big fucking deal when the first text message was sent
Sent.
between two phone numbers. And now it's all we fucking do. Now it's computers
Now
on
it's-
here.
yeah, it's
Now
computers.
and I remember like, oh, Pocket Net, that's like the high fancy section. Only the richest people can afford that to text each other. Now it's like everybody has one of these. Fucking
And
cricket.
people, people don't even use like the regular text message. They use like internet
Yeah.
chats and all
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. It's amazing, and it's literally the knowledge of everything in the palm of your hand. But along with that came the danger, which is misinformation and too much information.
I think that's the bigger issue.
Yeah.
People think I know most people think misinformation is like the big
Yeah.
baddie, but I think it's actually too much
Yeah,
information.
it's too much information because now literally you can get both sides,
yeah.
and they're both as equally convincing as the other that they're correct.
Yeah.
And the ugly or scary part is they're probably both right. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? In one way or another.
Some people sometimes they kind of like
Yeah.
write stuff on both sides. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, it's scary because it's being used as a weapon, and it has been since 2013. And you know, I'm not going to get into politics, but I will tell you that there are people and countries that fucking know this shit. They've been doing psychological warfare years before this shit existed.
Oh yeah.
And then they figured out, like we talked about, human behavior. The algorithm, it's fucking easy, dude. And so, boom, 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 manipulation.
No,
Easy, dude.
and it's not like, and people think it might be like a whole conspiracy theory, but it's
No,
not.
no, it's
one
not
of the
a conspiracy.
CEOs of Netflix. I'm not sure if his granduncle or his grandfather. His grandfather's like a psychologist. Edward, I think his name's Edward Bernays,
Yeah,
which is like
Edward
one of like
Bernays.
the,
Edward Bernays. Oh,
yeah, like,
my God,
Yeah,
yes.
like he's related to like the
Yeah.
like I think he's either
Yeah.
like granduncle or something like that with the CEO of Netflix.
Yeah.
What's the point of Netflix? Catching your eyeballs, keeping your attention to the screen.
Shit.
So
Dude, I
it's-
didn't know Edward Bernays was related to the Netflix.
Let me make sure it's correct.
Oh,
but
shit. Well, I know Edward Bernays, the name, Marshall McLuhan, all these dudes that, and then I bought this book, but I haven't finished reading it, Mindfuck, about Cambridge Analytica. So all that shit came out. Like, it's true. It's not a conspiracy. It's like these fuckers were fucking with our brains through social media, and they still are.
Yeah, here it is from the New York Times. His granduncle was Edward Bernays.
Beautiful.
It's all again. It's all psychological,
Dude, yeah, media warfare. And I mean, and it's funny because you get the lowbrow simpletons that are like, media, oh, the news is bad, media, because they don't understand that the word media, what
Yeah.
it means. It doesn't mean news. Media doesn't mean news.
It could be anything. Media is just anything.
Anything. The
And that-
medium.
The media, basically, yeah.
The medium that gets the message to you as the media.
And like a common thing that people always like worry about was like the book 1984. That's always like the one people like worry about, like all the big brothers watching you. Partially it is true, but I think the one that's more realistic to like our situation here in the U.S. It's the book Brave New World, where it's not the government controlling information, but like there's so much information that you kind of don't even want to go to it, because I've seen this with like how you're talking about like people would rather see like the Walking Dead people, even if they're just extras versus like the main actor.
Yes.
Here, when it comes to the news, most people watch like the Monitor, whatever else is popular. I think there's Tom Cryer. There's this other newspaper called the Rio Grande Guardian.
Oh yeah, I followed the Guardian for years.
It's dry. It's boring. It's what people consider boring
Yeah.
news. But it has like some of the most interesting stuff about the
it's
valley.
The most important shit too. Yeah.
But people don't want to.
Yeah.
People don't know about it.
Yeah.
One, and people wouldn't want to care because it's considered boring. There's
Yeah.
no drama. There's no.
Yeah.
There's nothing to it.
There's no hype. They're not trying to sell the news to you.
Yeah, and I talked to the owner, which is
Steve.
Steve. Yeah. It was weird because like
He's got a British accent.
British
right?
accent.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like a long time ago, when I was in college, I had started like, an advertising company with my friends. I say friends, but like we're not friends anymore. You know, they grew apart. But at our peak, he wanted to hire us because like, hey, like you guys are young guys, you know how to work with like with
badass.
cameras.
Yeah.
And Zach was one of the. Well, he was kind of involved, but not really
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
time.
yeah.
And eventually, like he wanted to like hire us to like cover some of the news in Reynosa. But if you're a journalist in Reynosa, well, like
Oh shit.
but like he's like, yeah. So my
yeah.
friend's kind of like, no, let's not do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, but he was explaining like how he wants to do like hardcore news, like how it was back then, and it's not popular. But I guess, but the people who are like dedicated to it are really dedicated to it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, where was I going with this? Basically, the information exists; it's there.
Yeah.
But people don't want to seek it.
Yeah.
They don't know it exists,
Yeah.
or it's just boring.
Yeah. No, and I love that comparison that you did of Orwell and Huxley.
Huxley, yeah.
Yeah, because it's more Huxleyan, like you said, and there's memes out there about it that I like to share too, and that's it. Where I can't remember who said it, but it was a quote talking about it. It's not the Big Brother; it's now us willfully filming ourselves with the camera and putting it out there, and we are.
It's all under the guise of convenience.
Yeah.
It's always
And
going to be about that. It's always going to be about convenience.
So much information that nobody reads anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody reads fucking books.
Yeah.
Look, I mentioned some books that are very important to me earlier, but I'll my disclaimer, I didn't grow up reading.
Yeah, neither
I
did
didn't have any books in my house. There was no bedtime stories. There was no Hardy Boys or nothing. Okay. I got to college and I fucking didn't want to read. I didn't get to reading until by my teenage hippie years, like some philosophical stuff came my way. Alan Watts by accident. And then Don Juan, Carlos Castaneda shit, fun
Yeah.
shit. But reading is so fucking important, man. I
It
mean,
is.
I'm lucky that I was, born with enough cognitive sense to maneuver through the world without having been well read. But as soon as I got older, I tried to read a lot more, and I do try to read a lot more right now. It's just hard. I think it's like a combination of undiagnosed ADHD and
That's
all
the other thing,
kind of
yeah.
shit, and then also the technology of everything being like
Really
smooth,
fast.
tiny attention
Even
span.
TikTok, the TikToks, that's like the best example where it's just 5
everything is
seconds.
fast. If they don't if you don't catch them in the first 3 seconds, they're gone, dude. They're gone, and that's how everything is now. And so reading becomes something that's like it's different, dude. It's
Yeah.
hard, but I think it's very important. So my recommendation are those Daniel Quinn books. It's very important to read those.
For me, I think I got into books because I don't really talk publicly about my opinions and also, but like I am like anti-government, and I was part of it because like I'm not sure it's like it just came out of my paranoia like in life, but like I have like a giant distrust of authority figures just in general,
Cool.
and it's like not towards like any political party, it's just like the system itself. Because when I was younger, I really thought about this like a couple of years back. There's this English teacher. I'm not sure if she's alive or not, but I'm not gonna say her name. But she had graded my test, and she gave me the like an F, and I was like, "What happened?" Like I told her, like, and she was like, "Oh, well, this question was wrong. This question was wrong." So I would go back to the book and say, "I looked at it. I'm like, I look at the test. I'm like, no, I'm right," and I showed it to her. Then she went back to her cheat sheet whatever. She was grading everybody with the wrong like paper.
Damn.
And so I'm like, okay, that made me realize like, hey, can adults be stupid?
Yeah.
Like, and I was just I think it was like I was in elementary,
Yeah.
but I was already having these thoughts like,
Yeah.
so adults can be wrong.
Yeah.
And I kind of like changed everything.
Damn.
And there was this other story where this kid tried to get me in trouble because he was writing on like the drawers and a bunch of other stuff like where you hold your folders.
Yeah.
The thing is, his J's were like just like that, but mine's always had like the line across.
Yeah.
And I told her, "Ma'am," and I was in elementary, I was like 5th grade or whatever. I was telling her like, "Hey, if I was like, if I wanted to get like, why would I want to get in trouble and like write my own name to like get myself in trouble? Why wouldn't I just write somebody else's name to get them in trouble, not me?"
Yeah.
And she was like, she did that. She didn't like find it kind of convincing. So I told her, "Ma'am, look at the J's. Look how I write them. Look how this one's written." And she saw that mine always had like the line on top.
Yeah.
This one just had like the line like that curved.
Yeah.
And I kept realizing like, okay,
Yeah.
teachers can be wrong.
Yeah.
And they're like the ones who are teaching you. It's like if they're wrong, if they can be wrong,
Yeah.
what about the stuff that we're being taught? And
Yeah.
it just continued going on.
Yeah. So you're another lucky one that has like a inherent natural born critical thinking skills.
Yeah.
Critical thinking skills are like the most important
And some people
thing,
don't think about
especially
it.
nowadays. Yeah. No. You have to be a critical thinker. You have to take things for what they are and make rational conclusions or decisions, you know?
Yeah, and like this is like it's like whole thing like eventually like it's like conspiracies, but not like the moon is made of cheese or like
Yeah,
whatever. Like there's
yeah.
like actual conspiracies like
Yeah.
like the JFK killing. I mean that's
Yeah,
even
yeah.
that's still going on where like
Yeah.
they didn't want to like Biden or whoever they was in charge,
Yeah.
they didn't want to like release all the documents about his death, which is it's already been like what since the 70s and
Yeah.
this is still
Yeah.
that or like let's say like there's always like ways of us trying to get into wars and use like false flags, and this is like actual proven stuff where I think during the Kennedy administration they're trying to like blow up an embassy and then blame it on Cuba so we can get into war against them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Kennedy was like, no.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks later, he wakes up with a splitting headache, and
Yeah.
there goes that.
Yeah, no. I mean, the industrial
Military
war,
complex.
military complex. Yeah, that's real. That's not a conspiracy. Like,
Yeah, but some people think all of this is just conspiracy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, JFK. No, there's stuff that really goes on.
and I mean, and I think one of the hardest things for people to swallow, and I think they have a hard time connecting it, and they always try to keep them separate.
yeah.
Is that it's all driven by capitalism. Like all these conspiracies and or
For me, yeah, it's just self-interest.
well, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's capitalism. It's money. It's driven by profit. Yeah, self-interest, right?
Yes, yeah,
but the
that's all it is.
system that they've built and created is a predatory capitalism.
Yeah.
Because there can exist other forms of capitalism. There can exist new economies, and that's the thing that you learn from these books. Is that remember I said there's no one right way.
Yeah, there's different
So
ways.
just like there was the steam engine and then the gas engine after that, and
coal
just like
engine,
there
all
was the
stuff.
calculator and the computer after that, just like there was the landline phone and the cell phone after that, a technology always surpasses the next one. But for some reason, they've convinced all people that economy doesn't work that way. Capitalism is the greatest ever. There's nothing that can surpass it. It is the greatest. No,
Yeah,
dude,
there's-
don't be a fucking idiot. It's not. It's not the end all be all. And until, as a society, we can accept that truth and find ways to move beyond it, it's never going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
It's destroying itself.
And-
It's
but
destroying all
I
of
think
us.
the thing is, people will never do anything because people are comfortable.
Yeah.
Once you're comfortable, like why?
Yeah.
No one's gonna ride like until like
Yeah,
the lights
bread
went
and
off.
circuses, man.
Yeah.
Bread and circuses.
So like all that stuff happens, and then
Yeah.
what was the other one? I forgot. There's the point I was trying to get to, but like
Well, I couldn't end without bashing capitalism.
no, yeah,
Sorry.
Nah, for me it was more like I started getting into like local politics.
Oh yeah,
and that's
me
a whole
too.
different thing.
Me
Where
too,
like
me too.
I was reading this book. I can't remember what it was. It was from a professor from UTRG, but back then it was called UTPA.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was talking about like how corruption in the valley has like existed for a long since its inception. Like,
Yeah.
I think like I'm not sure it was like the Confederates or the unions.
Yeah.
They would use like they would like traffic like supplies of like cod and a bunch of other like materials from Mexico, and like the
Dang.
valley was just like the main
Yeah.
prime.
Yeah.
And then I can look into the history of like who like created the valley, like the cities, and
Yeah.
like some of these families are still in charge of the political power here. I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
this is crazy.
Yeah.
And then once I personally got involved because this was kind of embarrassing, but like when I was I was either a sophomore or junior, there was this big story out of my town, which some people might know, but there was like a feud between the city and the school board, and basically like during our winter vacation, the city said like, hey, you're not paying the bills, which wasn't true, but like they weren't paying the upcharge that they wanted to charge, even though they had a contract the previous year, but if they wanted to raise up the prices, school was like, no, we're not going to pay that price. We had already agreed upon this price. So the city was like, okay, we're going to cut off the water. And so like there was this whole news.
Oh dang.
There was like this whole battle between them, and then not only did it become like local news, it became national news. My uncle was from Iowa, who was like, hey, like La Via's in the news about like the thing, and I'm like,
Dang, dude.
oh shit. And then I think at the worst part, like on ABC News, there was like a segment called "How Can This Happen in America?"
Dang, dude.
But like when I got involved, I was standing up for my education, obviously, and
Yeah.
for other students. Like you're saying,
Yeah.
obviously there's a self-interest of, hey, I want to go back to school because I'm in early college. But also like all these other students, like they're losing out time with their education, and we're supposed to do that, just kind of like protest and all that stuff. But eventually the reality hit in where some kids, they didn't want to get involved because like their family works in the city hall. They're afraid like,
shit.
what if the commissioners try to like fire our family because we're getting
Yeah,
involved?
dang.
And like all this other stuff, and eventually like, only like three, like instead of like the whole school showing up, only like 3 or 4 students showed up. I was one of them, and I started realizing like, hey, some people, like they want to self-preserve before like committing actions, even though it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely.
It's still like it's not the easy thing to do, basically.
Yeah, no, and I think that goes back to the point where we're making earlier about the communication.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the lack of communication or some way to get a broad message to a broad audience is like we want to do things, but we're comfortable just like
Now I remember.
There's
what,
probably a nice concert to go to, but
yeah. Now I remember where I was heading towards.
Okay.
My distrust of authority figures.
Yes.
So, the reason why I do podcasts is because I kind of dislike what are considered like modern journalists. I hate them.
Yeah.
I know some people not the for me it's not the conservatives like we distrust the media. It's more of like seeing what happens with media because there's 2 stories. One, when I was going involved with city politics,
Right.
there was this journalist from the Monitor. We became like kind of like acquainted, and we'll talk here and there. And she's like, the reason why we became a journalist is because I want to keep checking on the people on power, which is what journalists are supposed to do.
Yeah.
Well, she was covering stories for Bronzo ISD, and there was some corruption was going on there.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of months later, she got hired by them, and she was working for them.
Dang.
And I'm like, okay, so if some people, well, that tell me people can be bought out. They
Yeah.
can sell their values and say, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
And journalists don't get paid that much, so I can
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
And then the other story was I'm not sure you remember this, but like a couple of years back, the mayor of Edinburgh had gotten arrested or something like that.
Yeah, I remember.
One of the anchors from KRGV joined like his press team or whatever, and she was like going against KRGV. So like, yeah, like leave him alone, and she's like blocking the journalist. Like, hey, don't like. I do my job, you do your job, and I'm like,
dang.
A while ago you were just an anchor for KRGV. Now you're blocking your own people to protect this politician. I'm like,
yeah.
So like if the court, like if the not media, but I guess like the news people, if they can like protect the people they were supposed to go against, there's a lot of crazy stuff that goes on.
And it's, you said self-interest, but the biggest contributor to self-interest is money.
Yeah. And that's always going to exist. I mean, if it's not money, it's going to be some other form of value. That's the thing. So like even if we get rid of capitalism, some form of value is always going to exist.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like for me, it's more like a person thing. Like who are you as a person? Because obviously capitalism could make it worse.
Well, no, and you're absolutely right. And and I think that's the most important point of this conversation is that when I say something anti-capitalist, you're actually acknowledging that the only way to ever change it is by changing the social part of it, the social aspect.
Yeah, because some other value could come in.
Economy is always going to be there. Exchange of goods and services is always going to exist, value. But it's that social part where I called it predatory capitalism, where they exploit the labor, siphon the profits upwards, don't give a fuck about the poor, as long as you have the middle, quote unquote, middle class that are happy enough to not care, and not change what's happening because it's like, hey, we're doing okay.
Yeah, we're fine.
Yeah.
And that's what I was telling my family like a long time ago before like that freeze happened. We're like, I told people like, don't you find it crazy that when we're driving down the streets, the only thing that's keeping me from ramming into your car is these painted lines. Yeah. At any moment, I can say, you know what?
Yeah.
And just ram into your car.
Yeah.
But people are so happy right now. People are, we have a job. Yeah. The bills are being paid. Yeah. So why worry? Why go crazy? And then the freeze happened, and people started like buying toilet paper.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of like goods went away, even though people didn't have to, but people just panicked.
Yeah.
Another one was, I'm not sure you remember this one, where KRGB falsely said that there was like a gas shortage, and there wasn't.
Yeah, the gas run. They created the gas shortage.
Exactly.
Yeah, the gas runs, and so I tried to prove a point of exactly how the gas run happened. I made a post, but it didn't work, obviously. But the same thing would happen if we did a cash run.
Oh yeah, the banks.
If everybody went to the bank to withdraw was in their deposit, there would be not enough money to cover it.
It's just numbers.
Yeah. So it's all fiat, and I mean, I speaking of numbers and currency, I do want to touch on my opinion on cryptocurrency and NFTs.
Sure, go for it.
Okay. So I respect the technology and what it is, right? Blockchain and
I probably agree with what you're going to say in a bit.
Yeah,
I think so.
But to me, it was nothing revolutionary like the way they sold it. It was just another fucking scam for people that it was given a false value. It doesn't even exist. And NFTs, to me, I made a joke out of it. I said it stands for not fucking there.
Yeah.
Because when I heard that they were doing real estate for fucking like metaverse, virtual real estate, I was like, we can't be that fucking stupid. We can't be that fucking dumb to fall for virtual real estate and spending fucking hard-earned money and shit on something that's not even fucking there, dude. But yeah, that's,
I think I'm gonna disagree with you on that one.
Okay.
I think down the line, the real world to like become like miserable, where people's only like fantasies being online. So people are like, oh my god, like people are gonna get the self accomplishment of what the real world should be providing you with the virtual world. Because right now, like buying a house is expensive for a person.
Yeah.
So if you can live in this fantasy world, this virtual world where you can buy property next to your own house,
right,
you're gonna get that false sense of accomplishment.
Well, yeah, no. I'm agreeing with you.
It is dumb, yeah.
No, I know what it is.
And I think that's where
it's fucking stupid. I know what it is.
Yeah. It is, but I think that's where it's
it's definitely where it's headed. So as to fall back and eat my own words and put my own foot in my mouth, I'm not gonna adapt to that shit. Because I don't want I think that's a further disconnect from what we are. And I think that we are at a point where it doesn't have to be what we will become. I know that's where it's pointing.
Yeah, we don't
Like the
necessarily have to
fucking
go there.
movie, the little robot. What was that little robot's
The
name?
Wall-E?
Wall-E. I know that's where it's going, but what I'm saying is like I don't want it to fucking go there. So I'm gonna fight it tooth and nail. You know, I don't mind using these technologies for creation. You know, yeah, create worlds. Okay, cool, but don't create a world that's gonna trap our own fucking, you know, self in it.
I think
you
it's gonna happen.
I know.
I mean,
I know it is.
like-
I know it is. I can't stop
yeah,
it.
no. It's like I know it's gonna be a weird comparison, but it's like porn.
Yeah.
People become addicted to like
Yeah.
virtual like sex.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
like sex is supposed to like create new life.
Yeah.
Be this experience,
Yeah.
but then people like get attached to a screen. And it's like okay.
Oh yeah.
Same thing with this. Same thing with these other accomplishments where people are gonna get like the gratification of
Yeah.
owning a house, having a family, but it's all online.
Dude, Marshall McLuhan, who was a guy from the 60s that was also a big media critic and talked about technology. There was this quote, I have it on TikTok, where he pretty much fucking summed up e-commerce and NFTs, where he said, in the future, people are going to be able to pick up their phone and they're going to be able to describe, well, I want to learn this language here, this language here, this language here. And he's like, and they're going to Xerox you all the information, right directly personal to you. So what you're going to be purchasing is a service. And he says, and it's not actual product. And he said, did you know that people look at ads not so they can buy something, but to reassure themselves that they already bought the right product? He goes, in the future, people are going to be purchasing things that it's not even going to be an actual thing. It's just going to be a file number somewhere in place. And they're just so they know that they own that thing. And I was like, fuck, he just described fucking NFTs and fucking
Yeah,
e-commerce.
people just love ownership.
Dude, it's crazy.
And I think that's another important part that should become really important in the future is actually owning stuff. I think there's this whole push towards renting, not owning your car, leasing, not owning your house, not owning anything. And
Yeah.
I think that's where it's going to become scary because what's going to become more important is just ownership in general. Like this whole thing about like BlackRock, I'm sure you heard about that corporation where they've been like buying up a bunch of properties and just
Oh,
making everything
shit.
into rentals.
Oh, shit.
People like, and the thing is like, it's kind of hard to stop
Yeah.
them because
Yeah.
a bunch of like the retirement stuff,
Yeah.
like the funds, they fund that corporation because, hey,
Yeah. Yeah.
real estate is it's
Yeah.
stable income, so
Yeah.
retirees can rely on that. But
Yeah.
if these corporations keep buying up all this housing, prices go up, you're not gonna own a house, you just become a renter.
Yeah.
You're not gonna own a home, car, or anything like that. Like it's
And I think it's crazy that our conversation has gone this way because in reality, like, that's what all this is what we were talking about. It's like these narratives, these stories that are created to enrapture us or capture us or encapsulate us and distract us and spin us in these like rat wheels. Like you said, renters, you're going to be renter, and this guy over here owns
Yeah.
everything, you know. And I think music and art and creativity is the greatest escape from that. And I think that's what's been able to keep me sane because trying to make sense out of the world that we're in is a fucking task.
it is. And I go through that stuff. 'Cause
Yeah,
I kind of enjoy like how things work.
Yeah.
Because that's why the podcast works. Because
Yeah.
I want to know why you do the things you do. It's
Yeah,
all this
yeah,
other stuff. So
yeah.
eventually it becomes like how does the world work? And
Yeah.
if you don't like have escapism, you can go crazy.
Yeah, no, and you gotta, fuck.
Another an author you should read about is this guy Neil Stevenson. So he has had books since like the 80s or 90s, and like all the stuff we're talking about, like cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
he's actually the one who created the term cryptocurrency, where
Okay,
he had this whole book about like virtual money.
Cool.
There was another book called Snow Crush, where he's the one who coined the word metaverse about his whole virtual world.
Okay, cool.
So what happens is that a bunch of like technology, like Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, like all those, basically what I call them nerds,
Yeah.
all these tech nerds,
Yeah.
they all follow whatever he says, like his books. They read it, like why don't we make this into a real thing?
Damn,
So like if people read his books, I
Yeah.
think it would be
awesome,
like so basically the whole thing about cyberpunk and post cyberpunk.
cool.
This guy is He's
Cool.
he's the main guy, so people should read that stuff because I think anything he writes about it usually becomes part of the future because
Yeah.
he influences tech people.
Yeah. Shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff
Uh,
is really interesting.
Yeah, and that's pretty interesting because it's like you said, like Zuckerberg, Musk, Bezos, these dudes, these rich dudes that are really the ones that have the capacity to make these huge changes. Like, if they were, like you said, if their social part was a little more human or humanist, then we could have like big positive changes. But I think, I don't know.
I agree with
I
you with
don't know.
that because, like, I'm not gonna like focus on specific religions, but like, churches need to play an important part because, obviously, the whole idea of everybody's being equal under God's eyes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But there's this also social aspect about it where it was like one of the few places where poor people and rich people were all together, and they were able to talk about like whatever like was going on like with their lives, like the stresses of life.
Yeah.
People were able to like communicate with each other and
Yeah.
actually, but like that's kind of like a role like with young people. People don't go to church.
Yeah.
People don't really go to like. There's no other social gatherings like
Yeah.
where it's kind of this with church because,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can go to sports, but you're just
Yeah.
there to like
Cheer on
support
your team.
team.
Yeah.
The music scene kind of works as that where
Yeah.
everybody's vibing with each other and sharing music, but like
Yeah.
there's no, hey, what's going on with your life? What's going on
Yeah.
with my life? How can we solve this?
Yeah.
And people, I'm not sure where I read this about, but the job for the priest, like when he goes to confessions, he's able to hear like what's going wrong with with the community, and then he can like relate his sermons to the stuff that's going on, what's relevant to the community,
Nice.
without like pointing out names. Like, hey,
Nice. Yeah. That's
all of this
cool.
is
I never thought of that.
That's like that was supposed to be like. Well, I'm pretty sure it still happens. Where some churches don't. It depends on the priest, but like
Yeah.
that function of confessions, like, hey, what's bothering the community? I can talk about it. Hey, this is how we can fix these issues. But like,
Nice, dude. I never knew that.
Yeah.
And today's Ash Wednesday.
exactly.
Hey, beautiful, man.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
and that's why like I'm still getting involved with religion, even though
Yeah.
it's not super popular with young people.
I love religion.
Like there's still like
Yeah.
these different aspects that exist. There's a reason why spirituality, religions all exist. I mean,
And as a critical thinker, you have to be able to understand that. You
Yeah.
have to be able to understand and appreciate that religion is a guiding narrative.
it serves to function. Yeah,
That the function is to guide the people to a just future.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where everything is just and rationalized and peaceful. It's not meant to fucking oppress people the way the way some
Some-
sects
yeah.
or factions use it. No. It's meant to unite everybody. You
and
know?
the reason where I was going with this is like now there's like where rich people typically live in gated communities, so now there's like we live over here, and now like there's no crossover between rich people and poor people. Like even right now, like maybe stores when you're shopping, that's when you'll like meet rich people. But even that,
Yeah.
like people go to different stores, so like
Yeah.
there's no like I'm not sure if crossbreeding is the right word, but like crossover between
Yeah.
different people of different social classes.
Yeah. No, I agree.
There's
with
more
you.
of a separation.
Yeah. I think the greatest example that I've seen so
Music.
far, no,
Oh,
the Pulga on Sundays.
Skills?
Dude, the Pulga on Sundays, especially now with the hype. So now, as an outsider, because that's what I was, I get to observe, and so I see people of all classes now, because now there's people, I saw like, like white people
Yeah.
from out of town that came just to check out the phenomenon, and maybe they're just looking at
Yeah.
clowns or whatever, but or whatever people think it is that's going on. What's really happening is people are eating, drinking, dancing, and singing all
Exactly.
together, and it's beautiful. It's really happening.
That's what needs to happen a lot more often.
Yeah, and that's some churches they call that part. What do they call it? Worship. Are you going
Yeah.
to worship where they just play music and dance? Right,
Yeah.
that's what they call it.
Exactly. Yes. And even without like music's always like in every gathering.
Yeah.
There's always some music,
Yeah.
whether it be birthdays, weddings,
Yes.
funerals.
Music, the universal language.
Exactly. Even with movies, I mean, movies would be so different without music. Yeah.
Shit, yeah. The scores, everything.
Everything. So yeah, I mean that's where like all that stuff I think about it, but I just don't like talking about it on my podcast because like first of all, most of my crowd's younger, so like
Yeah.
who the fuck cares? But
Yeah.
now, what I was gonna say earlier is that I'm kind of like envious. No, I'm not sure if envious or jealous is the right word, but like I wish I could be in the position where I can be more myself, speak about like my own interests because the more you get involved with certain communities, there's a lot more scrutiny towards those people. So like
Yeah.
I'm okay with people scrutinizing me if I ever mess up or say something wrong.
Yeah.
But like some people, they already don't like you, so they're just trying to find any kind of reason to like say, hey, he fucked up right there.
Yeah.
So whether it be like people I have on my podcast, because
Yeah.
I cannot control people's behaviors, what they
Yeah.
do before my podcast or
Yeah.
after my podcast.
Yeah.
I can't know everything about your life.
Yeah.
And even so, like people are imperfect. So I mean,
Yeah.
so like I kind of like I always kind of like self-censor sometimes just because like,
Yeah.
hey, I don't want to like get some people mad or like
Yeah.
I don't want to give fuel to people who already hate me. It's like, hey, here's another fuck
Yeah.
up. Get rid of Joe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
I
because-
completely
yeah.
understand what you're saying. But I'm glad that you're opening up with me, man,
Yeah.
on the podcast and being yourself, and we're sharing and talking about this because you said you don't normally
Yeah, you're
talk
the
about
you're
this
the
shit.
first person I have been more open about. So
Okay,
yeah.
cool. I really appreciate that, man. Fuck yeah. I think it's important because it's I think the base of what we've been talking about the whole time, or the underpinning theme, is like communication and
Yeah.
social connection beyond just like the surface, like actual connection. Like who are you? Who the fuck am I?
Exactly.
Like,
That's what this podcast is
Yeah,
about.
yeah. What the fuck are we doing here?
I know.
Yeah.
Who knows? Like that's what like people think about. Like I had told when I first made the podcast, everything
yeah.
for me it was more about advertising because that's my background.
Yeah.
But then some of the guys from Bummer Shit, they were telling me like, hey, do you realize like what you're actually doing is documenting the scene? And I'm like,
Nice.
oh shit, like yeah, like years down the line, people are gonna be able to go look back and say, like, hey, or talk to the kids and say, hey, that was me when I was 20. I was in this band. You can watch this, and
Damn.
it's just a documentary of.
Beautiful,
That specific
dude.
moments.
I fucking love that. Yeah, fuck yeah, dude.
I never thought about that. Again, it's
Yeah.
the whole self-interest before
Yeah.
it actually opens up to like a whole different
Yeah.
meaning to what you're doing.
Yeah. Beautiful, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love what you're doing. I think it's great.
Yeah, and same thing with you. I mean, the fact your function as a host of the open mics, like I love that because you're giving people the opportunity to express themselves no matter what kind of craft they are, whether they're beginning or they're advanced. Because even I'm guilty of this. Like sometimes you see like a certain actor, and like oh, like they weren't that really good, but like you don't say it, but like
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are like.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah.
But like no
for
matter
sure.
what, like even if you have that mentality, like they're not that good, but still, that person's having the opportunity to say, hey, I'm on stage. This is what I have to say. This is what I have to do.
Yeah.
I can do it.
Yeah.
And you serve that function as the host.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And I make sure that everybody, as no matter what level they are or caliber of their skill or the talent, I make sure that they know that stage.
Is open.
Yeah. It's open. It's equal. It's like, you can say what you want, but you're gonna get the reaction.
Yeah.
The reactions.
Another question I wanted to ask you was like, how did you develop your style of open mics? Because I think a common complaint that I've heard is like, oh, like I signed up at this part, but then like I didn't play until like this other time.
Yeah.
How did you actually develop your system? So I think people can kind of understand like, hey,
Yeah. So
this is what I'm doing.
The disclaimer that I usually do is I say that the list is not in the order that it appears.
Yeah, chronological.
Because I try to create a vibe with the acts where I'll try to stick a poet or a comic in between the music, or maybe not get like
Too many musics after
Yeah.
too many comedians or anything.
and it all started because look, when people were just signing up, like 5 comedians would come in together and they'd all sign up.
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah. You put 5 comedians together, by the third one, the crowd is completely gone.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, like, how did you... So it came from that...
It came from that exact scenario. So 5 comedians show up, they all sign up, you put them in order. By the third one, the whole fucking crowd is gone. Everybody's gone. Because part of the problem that we have with the comedian scene here is there are some comedians that get off on making people cringe and like just telling shitty, offensive jokes. And so... And it's completely obvious. You know what I mean? It's completely obvious. Like, nobody's talking shit. I'm not talking shit here. It literally happens.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's where it came from. And then, like, you don't want to get... It's the same with, like... I'll even say, like, 3 rap artists. You get 3 rap artists, and you put them one after the other, you're going to lose interest in the crowd. So it's all about keeping that wave, the ebb and flow. Rap, piano, acoustic, rock, poet, comic, and the other thing is that people are always going to complain because everybody wants the peak time. There's 4 hours of slot, and there's about an hour and a half that all these 4 hours of people want to play in. And it's literally, by the space-time continuum, scientifically impossible to fit 4 hours of music into an hour and a half. It's not possible.
Yeah.
And so and that's been the hardest thing because I know people get pissed off. I know people are not happy about it. I know people feel like shafted or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And it's like,
that's why I wanted to use the opportunity to explain. This is why it happens. Because some people, people only get pissed off if they don't understand why it's like that way.
Yeah.
Because people are like, oh well, maybe he doesn't like me.
Yeah.
But now that you know,
it's never been that for anybody. It's never been that. And the thing is, it's like it's a 4 hour space. It's from 10 to 2 in the morning, right?
Yeah.
I want all those 4 hours filled, but you know how it is, man. Everybody wants to leave at midnight.
Yeah, especially they have work in the following.
Everybody has work in the morning. I try to fucking bullshit people, be like, I work in the morning too, so what? Like I fuck around, I'm having a good time. I'm going to be there till 2. I'm there till fucking 3 sometimes. But I understand, but I need people also to understand.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to give that
so thank you for giving me the opportunity to say, we can't squeeze 4 hours of music into 2 hours. We can't.
Because like I understand, I had already like kind of understood. Like, kind of
everybody wants to go before midnight. Everybody.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just been so for me. I try to do the thing where we cut them down to 2 songs, 5 minutes, just to try to get everybody. Last night was fucking amazing. Like we had people that like 15 people were telling them, all right, go home already. Yeah.
Oh, for reals?
It was already like 2:15.
Oh,
people were still there. So yeah, it was badass.
Dang,
they were there all night, and this one person, Celine Ruiz, she sang really awesome. She waited a long time. She was very patient, and so that was cool. I appreciate them very much for that. But yeah, it's just an example of like, I get it. I get why people feel that way because everybody wants to play before midnight. I don't know. Maybe one day I'll do it. I'll go back to the list order. Maybe. I don't know. But see, it does.
Would it ever be possible to? I know the whole thing is the whole 956. Like, would it ever be like maybe to make it a little bit earlier? Or
no, that would totally be possible, and I would love to do that. And see, that's another issue that arises is that. I always say sign up is at 8. I've said that for every time. So I'll get somebody that shows up at 8 to sign up, but then nobody's there, right? And the 956 thing didn't happen because I wanted to wait till 956.
Oh, okay.
The 956 thing happened because I always wanted to wait for a crowd, always. Because I always said it's not fair for somebody to show up at 8, 8:15, 8:30 and sign up. And then for me to put them on at 9 o'clock when nobody's there, that's not fair. It's not fair for them to play to an empty audience. And then somebody that shows up at 10:30, at 11, they're playing to 50 people. You know what I mean? That's not fair. And so fairness is the initial reason for even waiting, And then it just so happened that by 10, there was a crowd is there. It's like, all right, now we're ready. Let's go, 956. So, and then, of course, by that time, there's already 10 people on the list. So if you show up at 10:30, there's already 15 people on the list. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, what time you think I'm going to get on, man? Because I came kind of early. No, man, 10:30, 11, that's not early.
Yeah. Is it on the, I never checked, but like, is it on the post for the Gremlin where, hey, sign up starts at 8?
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay, he's making sure. Yeah.
As far as I know, but I always put it on the flyers that I make.
Yeah, just to make sure because I'm like, so there wouldn't be an excuse basically to say, hey.
They do put sign up at 8, and sometimes they put starts at 956 on the chalkboard out front, on the chalkboard, but you have to walk up to see that.
Yeah.
But I mean, people already know, right? Because we did it. I made it a gimmick kind of thing, the Puro 956 gimmick. But no, I mean, I would love for people to get there at 8 and pack it out, and we get started at 9, and then we have 5 hours of music. I would love that, but people don't show up.
Yeah, no, that's true. Because like sometimes like on there like around 8, and there's maybe a couple of people in the front area.
Yeah. Nobody's there. Nobody's there. But and then it's understandable because then they think, well, I'm not going to get there early if they don't start till 10. So
then they show up late. It's a whole communication thing again.
And then it's valley time. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like 10. Oh, that means 11. Then you
That-
get there at 11 and be like, you think I could play right now in a little bit? Like, no, I'm
No.
sorry, man. Like, look at the list.
The thing about that, that reminded me of an article I read where, ever since like more like manufacturing went to Mexico, there's like the whole thing about valley time, but like it's the same thing with like Mexico where time's kind of lean or loose. And what happened was a bunch of like Japanese and like Korean businessmen would go to Mexico, and they would like set up meetings. They were like right on time, like hey, meetings at 9,
Yeah.
meetings at 9. But then
Yeah.
like the Mexican business owners, they come like at 10, and we're like there's like this whole cultural conflict
Yeah.
of the timeliness and the
That's
kind of being
funny.
loose.
That's
yeah,
funny.
yeah,
But no, man. I mean, I'm really appreciative of all the people that come out, and
Definitely.
and
And
I
even though, like-
apologize if anybody misconstrued that as happening.
yeah. But even so, like it's still a good problem to have because people. It's not like there's a lack of people.
Yeah.
It's there's too many people. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's better to have that problem than the other problem.
Yeah, but I don't want anybody to feel left out, and that's why we cut it to 2 songs because at one point it would get to 2 in the morning and we weren't even done with the
Oh,
list. Yeah, that's when we had to change it to 2.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a good problem to have, but I don't want to have any problems. I want everybody to have the opportunity
Mm-hmm.
to play. You know, I want everybody to come out. I appreciate everybody that comes out and supports, and I mean we're gonna always be there.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I said, that it's a living organism, so the talent will always be coming through no
Yeah.
matter what. And as long as there's a place for people to play, people will play.
And I think it should be like noted that just other places too also do open mics. There's like a lot of different open mics on
we're
different
having
days. So I mean,
it's a
blowing
revolution.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Wednesdays tonight at the Walrus.
Mhm.
Tomorrow they
The
have
Dungeon, right?
no, not the Dungeon anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, they're doing other stuff. Tomorrow they have one at Roosevelt's.
Mm.
They also have one Café de Route tomorrow. Today
Mm-hmm.
they have one at the Jay Muniz is doing it at the one that used to be the Cubby Hole in Edinburgh. I don't know what it's called. Barrel House. He has one tonight. España also has one on Wednesdays, a singer-songwriter one.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then Mike Marquez was going to start doing a comedy one at 5x5 on Fridays.
Oh, wow.
So you're talking about Tuesday through Friday. Oh, and Hop Shop on Wednesdays
Yeah,
too.
Hop Shop's-
Wolfie. So, and then the Luna Lounge was doing it on Thursdays too. So you're talking about
Everywhere.
both sides of the valley, almost every night of the week. I want to try to get something on a Monday. I might start something else.
Yeah. That's
somewhere in Mission. maybe.
Mondays.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man. That's another testament to the fact that there's a lot of people with a lot of talent that want to play.
Mm-hmm.
They want to play.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm waiting for the moment where like the whole entire valley just blows up because I mean right now we're kind of seeing that with Grupo Frontera, I think.
Yeah, Frontera.
Yeah, like,
oh,
they're
that was
really popping.
badass. Yeah, that song's so good. I love that song. I didn't know they covered that song. So
Yeah.
they covered that song and it blew up.
And the fact that
Online.
they're from here in Austin, I mean,
Yeah.
it's amazing word.
Yeah.
And that's what like also upsets me. Like I'm glad that they're doing successful. Like there's all these other popular bands that are also
Yeah.
like really successful.
Yeah.
One of them is called Twin Tribes.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
From, they're from
yeah.
Outer Brownsville.
Yeah, yeah.
They do like the whole post punk or whatever it's called.
yeah.
And it kind of I find it kind of crazy because like they're internationally famous.
Yeah.
And they're from here in the valley. Like
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that.
And
I
I
love
j-
that. That's what earlier when I mentioned about it being the new scene and
Mm-hmm.
Austin being a thing of the past. I'll give you an example. So a friend of mine, Carlos Olguin,
Mm-hmm.
moved here from Las Vegas, Nevada.
okay.
He showed up at the Gremlin one Tuesday. They're hosting. It's early. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
hi. He shows up with his cowboy hat, his boots, his guitar. It's a bajo sexto.
yeah.
Hey, I'm Carlos Olguin. I came to play music. Hey, what's up? Where are you from? Las Vegas, Nevada. What are you doing here in the valley? He said, well, my friend who's from Austin, I was telling him about I was going to move to Austin. He said, why don't you try the valley?
Mm-hmm.
Well, his friend, he said, yeah, David Garza. And I was like, wait, David Garza? David Garza?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, David Garza. I've been following David Garza since the 90s because my friends were his cousins. He's this musician that came out of Austin that was selling his own tapes. He had a band called Twang Twang, Twang Shaka Boom. And then he did his own solo stuff, David Garza. He sold like 100,000 cassette tapes out of his trunk at UT. He got signed with Atlantic Records.
Damn.
He plays guitar for Fiona Apple and helped co-produce her latest album. He produced Midland's latest album. He produced Hanson's latest album. And he's recording a Fastball right now. This guy told Carlos Olguin from Las Vegas, Nevada, maybe you should check out the Valley for the music scene.
And did he ever explain like why?
Yeah. because he's like, Austin isn't what you thought it was. Austin's not what it was 20 years ago. And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, much earlier.
It is gentrified. It's saturated. It's too much. Whereas here, it's like burgeoning. It's blossoming. You know what I mean? It's like it's the inception of a beautiful thing. But it's not. It's really been going on for 50 years. You know, if you've seen As I Walk Through the Valley by Charlie Vela and
Charlie
Ronnie
Vela,
Garza,
yeah.
like that's documenting from the punks and from the 60s, you know,
Yeah.
punk and all that, and the rock and all that. And then it went to the 90s, and the 90s is where I had my band, and from the 90s onward, we've still been doing this. You know what I'm saying? So this is not a new thing.
Yeah, it's
But
just that it's becoming more aware. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's more awareness.
and it's growing. It's growing, and it's a beautiful time. I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, and I think it's a good thing to have because even when I was in high school, people were always talking about like, hey, let's go to Austin. And for me, I'm like, okay, sure, the valley's kind of like let's say undeveloped land, even though it is developed. But like, there's more, like the percentage of success would be much higher in the valley, even though it's more work. Because even with investing, where like there's a startup company, sure, there's like a high risk to it, but there's a high reward to it as well. Same thing with the valley. Austin's already matured, so like your chances of success is easier, but it's going to be kind of slow because there's already a system built in place.
Yeah.
With the valley, it's the Wild West.
Yeah.
And if you make it big,
Yeah.
like the valley's not going to get smaller. It's
Yeah,
going to keep
yeah.
expanding.
Yeah, no, and,
So-
and one of the analogies I like to use,
Yeah.
if I could add on to what you're saying, which I agree with 100%, is that when I went to Austin for the number of years I was there and then came back, the analogy that I saw it as was a blank canvas.
Yeah.
And so everything that you saw over here, you could create over here. You could actually be the pioneer in the valley from something that's already succeeded over here. So you could take a formula of something that worked over here and you saw catch on and you could create it here.
Yeah, I agree with that too because people always say like, oh, the valley's like 20 years or 10 years behind. And people consider that like a bad thing. I'm like, okay, it depends on your mentality,
Dude.
If you're not a creative person or a
Yeah,
producer,
yeah.
that's a bad thing. Because if
Yeah.
you're just a consumer, all you just consume,
exactly.
that's it. Like
Oh
that's
my
bad for
God.
you.
Yeah.
But if you're someone who's creative, like, hey, this is an opportunity to say, hey, what's worked over here, let's do it over here. So I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I love that. I love that about the
So I
valley.
think that's the difference between. I think that's like the main thing. The difference between a producer and a consumer.
Yeah.
That's gonna be like really important in the future, or even
Yeah.
now actually.
Yeah, no, it is because the lines are already there, you know?
Yeah.
The lines are already there. And I think it comes, shit, and I hate going back to the anti-capitalism thing, but it goes to that culture because that's our mother culture. Our mother
Yeah.
culture, and this is why we're so attached to it and why some people feel attacked whenever I take a stab at it because it's so ingrained in our culture that, look, this is the way things are. You're not going to fucking change it. Like, we make things and we buy things, and we make things and we buy things, and we make things and we buy things, and it's this cycle that goes on and on and on, and they think it goes on forever, but that's when, you know, all the other shit comes in, like sustainability or whatever, you know, and like closing loops, you know, if you can close a loop, do that, but because where it's just creating shit that breaks and then throw it in the trash and then
Like people should think like what happened to like all the old TVs?
Yeah,
Rather than like a bunch of like
shit.
the flat screens. What happened to like all the old
shit, yeah,
the VCRs,
Fuck,
the DVD
dude.
players, all that stuff somewhere.
trash. Yeah, yeah.
No, yeah. So yeah, I think that's a big thing. Like, I love hanging out with people who are producers, people who are producing something,
Yeah.
whether it be art, music, anything.
Yeah.
Because for the longest time, I think I struggle. I went through like I was hanging with people who would just they always talked about their dreams and about doing stuff, but they never did it.
Yeah.
And I kind of always try to encourage my friends, like, hey, if you just see what you really want to do, especially like music,
Yeah.
let me help you out. Because I always like helping out people.
Yeah,
It-
badass.
what keeps me alive is basically providing value for my friends, my family,
Badass.
and it kind of like that kind of friendship kind of stagnated because I'm like, okay, no one's doing anything. People are just coasting in life. I can't live like that,
Yeah.
and I don't want to sound like an asshole. Like, oh, you're not good enough to be my friend. It's not that. It's just like
No.
the saying, tell me who your friends are, and I can tell you who you are.
Yeah.
That kind of sort of like people don't think about it. Like your people around you influence you a
No,
lot.
absolutely, and fuck yeah, all those memes and the cliches about that.
There's a reason,
It's
yeah.
like you said, there's a reason, and you want to hang around with fucking dreamers, but that are also the creators.
Yeah, people
and
who are
then
doers.
business owners and fucking accomplished people. Like, I'll give you an example of this band that I had the opportunity to be in. It was called The Van Goghs.
The Van Goghs.
Okay, we recorded an album in 2012. Okay, a full length album. It was these two guys, Lamar Jones and Sean Elliott Russell, that moved to Westlaco from Florida. Okay,
Oh, wow.
and because Sean had some family here, and they both were into music, so they said, let's form a band. So Lamar Jones has a beautiful voice; he sings, and Sean Elliott Russell was a rapper. So they were like, let's get a band going. So they got live music instrument bands. I was the bass player. We had Angel Corsi as the guitarist. We had John McClain as the drums. We had like a 3-piece background singers, Rachel Udow. I don't remember the other two people's names, but so we had this amazing band. And these dudes were so positive and energetic. Like the whole band concept was that we were going to give back to the community. So we played at the Make-A-Wish Foundation Christmas party. We did a fundraiser for RGV Food Bank. We did a fundraiser for Boys and Girls Club. We gave away 50 backpacks and
wow.
barbecue. And then when we recorded the album, I pushed it out. It got KUTX in Austin invited us to go perform it at Studio 1A. And it was going great, but one of the members had like some mental health issues that happened, agoraphobia, depersonalization. He ended up in the hospital. And so the band had to break up. But out of this tragedy came this greatness. This guy ended up being an author to a children's book called Be Still, Little Tree, Be Still, that helped him come out of the funk he was in. And it's a beautiful book. He got to tour it through elementary schools and stuff before the pandemic. Lamar Jones created a barbecue sauce called the Jank that got accepted by H-E-B. It's now sold in every H-E-B store.
That sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, the Jank. Barbecue Jank. Make
Yeah.
no mistake. So
Oh,
good
wow.
that you can put it on cake. Yeah, man. So, like, being around these people that had dreams but would work hard to manifest them, like, is so inspiring. It has been inspiring. Anything they wanted to do, they would fucking do it. And they kept doing it. And they fucking just prove it to the world that you can do it, and that's helped me. And I follow people like that online too. I call them online mentors. I follow the guy that invented hot Cheetos, Richard Montañez. I got a friend, Cesar Vargas, that's a writer that I follow.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I think it's these people have a different mindset.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't try to judge people because
Yeah.
who was it? I think funny enough, I think it was the CEO of T-Mobile or someone where he said like, shut up and listen. Because for a long time, T-Mobile was considered kind of like not really good.
Yeah.
So what he would do is he would actually go to the phone call to the call centers and listen to customer complaints. And he said like all you have to do is just shut up, let them say what they're going to say, and you start learning stuff. But for me, it's more like about people's mentality. Where let's say even criminals or I like talking to different people.
Yeah.
So like even you're a criminal or like a bad person, I still want to listen to you just to learn your mindset.
Yeah.
So at Home Depot, what I started noticing like how you're talking about these mindsets. The average person would think it would be easier to steal when the store's empty or like not crowded, but the opposite is true. It's easier to steal when there's like a lot of stuff going on. People are everywhere because there's like all this confusion. It's all that's when it's easier to steal stuff. Because when I was working there, and it was a crowd, it was a busy day. Somehow, people stole a generator from a guy's truck and like loaded up. And these are like generators are fucking heavy.
Yeah.
And somehow they stole it from a guy's truck, even though he was like parked like where the lumber is.
Yeah.
Somehow they took it off the truck, put it into another truck, and just took off with it.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, okay, this is crazy. Like, and I started realizing, okay, people think when it's not busy, that's when you should steal because there's things going on. There's no witnesses. No, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
And that's when I started realizing with like criminals, like they say, like they have this whole different mindset of how the law works.
Yeah.
Because them, it's not trying to abide by law, but trying to like curtail it. Even with lawyers, like their job is not to like follow the law, trying to like interpret it in different ways to like So that's why I like I love the podcast because I can listen to your mindset where it's totally different from a person who's not a musician, not a open mic host. It's a whole different mindset.
And that just the stories you told me right now kind of reminded me of when I was mentioning about the Pulga hype.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I told you, it was all calculated. Like I knew the potential of what was going to happen.
How did you find out? Like, how did you calculate all of this before? Like, how did you know this was going to work?
Because the Bronco 956 hype was at the very beginning, and I just knew, like I just saw it. The numbers were there already. It was early in it, and the guy was already getting like millions of views like real quick.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah. I mean, I'd be stupid not to try to get it. It's just like I told you about the adapt or die shit. It was just another avenue for the taking. You know what I mean? And then it just fell into place. Like I'll reiterate the whole Juany Debt Pulga version, and so I knew it was like, okay, this is gonna play out like this, and if I'm lucky, it will catch on.
See, I think that's what separates you. Like, I don't mean this like you're better than people, but like there's certain people who it's something called the first movers advantage, where certain people they do something really quick. They notice this trend before they even pop stuff. Yeah. They immediately get onto it and say, you know what? Again, it's pattern recognition.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, something's gonna blow up. You know the potential. Like basically like Shark Tank, the investors. They kind of know what product's gonna work, what's not gonna work. Yeah. The people who are like most creative or more successful, like they have that pattern recognition. Like, hey, this is gonna blow up. Let me get on it before anybody else gets on. Because by the time most people get onto it, the trend's already up here. Yeah. It's just going to go down.
It's just like the stock market.
Yeah. Most people, like, they start, again, it's Warren Buffett had it perfectly where if people are greedy, don't be buying stuff.
Yeah.
If people are scared, that's when you should be buying stuff. Yeah. It's this whole counterintuitive of human behavior where you think you should be acting one way, don't follow the crowd.
Yeah.
But again, easier said than done.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's the reason why there's like the whole bell curve.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like again with the memes. There was one with the Frankenstein. It says Frankenstein is the monster, and on the bottom curve, where it's the dumb person, they say Frankenstein is the monster. In the middle, it's people. It's like the majority of people say Frankenstein's not the monster; it's a doctor. Towards the end of the bell curve, where it's a smart person, it says Frankenstein is the monster because the doctor is doing something he should have created.
Yeah.
And so it's just a whole different mindset that you have, and I don't know. Yeah, you can't teach people that mindset.
Yeah.
They have to do it themselves.
Yeah, and it goes back to that what we said in the beginning, like just experience it, and pattern recognition and critical thinking, like basics. Get the basics.
Get the basics.
Read. Get critical thinking skills, and
you'll be above the average.
Yeah.
And I think it's like even that's still a struggle for people.
Yeah.
For different reasons, but still like
yeah.
I don't know. It's crazy. Like.
Yeah.
That's why I get excited when there's people who understand, like, hey, think a little bit more critically, think about it just a little different.
Yeah.
Be open to different mindsets. Because, like, if people, like, if they're watching the podcast and say, hey, Joe listens to criminals, they're thinking, like, what's wrong with this guy? But, like, no, there's stuff to learn about different lifestyles.
Yeah, absolutely.
You shouldn't be judgmental.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if I'm taking up too much of your time because I'm looking at the time right now. It's 9:30.
Dude, we've been going for a long time, huh?
Yeah, it's like around 7 something. So but this is I really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, me too.
This is like this is a really great one. So the last question I usually ask my guests: what was your favorite part of the podcast?
Oh man, I think you're really easy to talk to, man. I think my favorite part of the podcast is just being able to connect with you as a person. Like we don't know each other.
No, we just go to the open mics. And that's
like, hi bye. You know. And I know Joe Martin. You know.
Yeah.
Managing principiant of the Joe Martin show. You know.
Yeah, it's all surface level stuff.
But yeah, man, you're very easy to talk to, and I found it very cool. I was a little nervous at first because I didn't know what to expect. You know.
Yeah, people get kind of uncomfortable with the idea that nothing's scripted or there's nothing planned.
I love that. I love that. And I don't. I think I do my best, like improvising and stuff too. So because it's real, you know.
Yeah.
It's like we said, we're
there's
just
nothing
creating
fake.
this.
It's organic. It's still,
yeah. So we're just like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna say. I'm just being me, you know.
Yeah, same. Yeah, that's all there is to do. I mean, that's the whole vibe of the podcast. It's showing your personality, who you are as a person. Cool. Because sure, it has my name on it, but it's more so about you than myself.
Cool.
Yeah, so.
But I'm glad that at the same time I got to learn a little bit about you.
Yeah, this is probably the first podcast where people learn a little bit more about myself than the usual.
I'm glad to be a part of that, man.
Yeah,
the
so
historical moment on the Joe Martin show. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you. Oh wait, before I end it, you can plug your social medias, all the stuff you have, TikToks, everything.
JuanyDebt.com. That's JuanyDebt.com. Also, noborderwall.us. All those links will take you to my Facebook page, where you can you can find my link tree, where you can get to my Spotify, my YouTube, my SoundCloud, my Reverb Nation.
What are they under? Those like what are they under?
They're all under Ray Perez.
Ray
Everything's
Perez.
under Ray Perez
Okay.
or Ray Perez 956. Instagram is at Ray Perez 956. Facebook is at Ray Perez 956. TikTok's Juany Debt. That's DEBT. YouTube is Ray Perez. YouTube.com/Ray Perez. I got that one early.
Yeah, you
It's
gotta look
hard
at
to have that one. YouTube.com/Ray Perez. That's me. 2008, I believe it was.
Damn, you gotta look at that one.
Yeah, because you can't find Ray Perez anywhere no more.
So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode.